For
Oh,
anybody watching, welcome to another episode of Torogi Talk. Today we have again another guest with us. Should we? Oh no, we'll introduce ourselves so that everybody's familiar with the format again, and then we'll let Amanda also introduce herself. So, if you don't remember, my name is Gerald Latin. I'm from Canada. I'm part of BBUC BC or BBUC Vancouver. Um, what are we called? I don't actually remember. BBUC BC, Beetle.
I think it's BBAC BC
Okay, BBUC
or
BC.
BBAC of British Columbia
Right.
officially,
Okay,
but
we'll go with that.
just say BBAC
So
Vancouver.
BBUC BC.
Mm.
And my parents, my dad is from Apayao, and my mom is from Benguet. So that's my background. Let's go with Mark.
Hi there, I'm Mark, and originally I'm from the BBEC of Northern California, and then I moved to the UK. So I'm also part of Igorot UK here out in England. So my parents are from the mountain province, and they're Bago people who moved down to the San Gabriel area of La Union in the mountains around in Lipay and Polipo. I'll pass it to Idil.
I'm Edel Matthias. I live right beside Gerald, so I'm also part of BBAC BC or BBAC Vancouver, BBAC of British Columbia. My mom is from Kabayan, Benguet, and my dad is from Bukod, Benguet. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, thanks. My name is Jay Watan. I live in San Francisco. I'm a member of the BBAC of Northern California. My background's the same as Mark, as you can see with the last name that's on our little tag there. And so, just doing everything we can to share Igor goodness in the world. So, Amanda, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. My name is Amanda Abeya, and I'm from BMUC, DC. BMUC, DC. They switched it and put an M in the middle instead of a B. And my dad, Edwin Abeya, is from Sagada, and my mom is from Buntuck.
Right on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we invited Amanda here because her parents are well known in the Igorot community, but she's also well known as a leader amongst her community as well, and she's also uh, one of the youth that grew up like some of our past guests within the community in the diaspora, and so she has a unique experience, I think, from the second generation to share. And not only that, she also owns her own business, and is an entrepreneur. And so we'd love to just hear more about your life experience, along with sharing your family's experience with your parents, if you can. Um,
Yeah.
so, I mean, how should we go, Gerald?
I can let you lead it.
Take it away, Mark.
Nice.
All right.
All right, Mark,
So-
go ahead and lead it since you're the Wolverine
He's probably
Batman.
so tired.
look right now.
I know. I didn't realize my freaking eyes were so red, man. But it's about 11:50 over here in the UK. It is what it is. But so Amanda, thanks for coming out. And what we
No,
do here is just
problem.
casual, and so we're just gonna talk like we're just in the same room.
Totally.
Yeah. So, like, could you just share a little bit about your family's experience, like coming to the States
Yeah,
and
absolutely. So I'm the youngest of three, so my stories might be a little bit different from what my sisters, my goodness, okay, um, might share with you guys. But from what I know, from my perspective, my dad was in the Navy, U.S. Navy. He joined when he was super young, right out of high school. He met my mom in Sagada. My mom was doing a Cinderella show, and she was Cinderella. And
Cinderella? Wow.
story is that my dad snuck into the theater in Sagada and didn't have any money. So he snuck into the theater, saw my mom singing a song. It's the part in Cinderella where she twirls and she's beautiful and she's singing. And then my dad told his friend, "That's the girl I'm going to marry one day." So very long story short, they do get married. My dad again in the Navy. My mom came from a family whose dad passed away at a super young age. So my grandma,
Oh,
strong woman. This is why my mom is the way how she is. My mom is extremely strong. Anyways,
yes,
they got
yes.
married. They moved. They were all around. My dad was stationed in Hawaii, San Diego, Japan, and then DC. So from that, they had Lonnie during that time, my
Mm.
sister Jasmine, and then me in DC, and then I got retired here. So basically, very long story short, to where I am now. My dad retired from the Navy, had his own company called Jacer, and they did government contracting. So at a super
Oh,
young age, yeah, I was around that entrepreneur energy for as long as I could really remember. I mean, as soon as he retired, he worked for Northrop Grumman. And then after Northrop Grumman, he just went straight into opening up his own company. And it was pretty successful. And it was, one of the times that I remember the most is when 9/11 happened.
mm, yeah.
His office was right, it overlooked the Pentagon, super close to
Whoa.
it. And yeah, so it was a really crazy time. I mean, government contracting is still booming, and
Yeah.
again, being around the energy was amazing. So because of that, they opened up another business. Um, Forgot what it was, but and then my sister Lonnie at that time wanted to open up her children's business. I had worked at a company called the Little Gym. It's a gymnastics
Oh,
place
yeah.
for
Okay.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Lonnie had brought her daughter there where I was working, and then so did Jasmine. And they probably lived about 30 minutes away. But in this area, it's a very dense area. So 30 minutes away usually can be an hour away, depending on traffic. And then so we decided to open up one in Silver Spring, or Lonnie did. So it was me, Jasmine, and Lonnie. But it was mostly Lonnie who opened up the little gym in Silver Spring.
Oh,
And
okay.
then as life
So,
goes on, they had children. Lonnie moved to Hawaii. So I ended up owning the business in 2017 completely by myself. So yeah, so that's how I have it. And yeah, it's been awesome. Again, I think the only reason why I've even thought to do that is because of my dad's spirit, of his
mm, yeah.
spirit, and definitely from his, as you know, Jay, like the military upbringing that he had. And there's a certain kind of like energy that just fuels you. And I would definitely say being around my dad um, has inspired me to, you know, choose something like this as opposed to teaching, which is what I originally was going to do.
Oh,
But
do
So
you
tell us
have
a
your
little
teacher?
bit about the business itself, because
yeah,
it's some people might not know.
yeah. So the little gym, it's everywhere. Actually, it's in the Philippines too.
Oh wow.
It's in Makati. Yeah, and that I actually met the owner at one of our annual trainings. She has like a few in the Philippines, and then she also has a few in Singapore. But basically, the little gym is for children from 4 months to 12 years old. It is a gymnastics facility, but it's non-competitive, so it's really recreational gymnastics. And the whole point of it is to build confidence and keep the kids moving in a very loving, nurturing environment. Um, but yeah, I've been honored to have done this for as long as I have. It's honestly, I feel like it's a little gym. It's a little gym. It's small.
Yeah.
We're so community or like just big time on community and organizations and nonprofits and all that stuff. We do a ton of fundraising for the communities around us. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, 4 months to 12 years old. I always get asked, what do 4 months old do in gymnastics? They don't do much, to be honest with you. They can hang on the bar though, because their hands are super strong. As parents, you guys know, they can hold onto your fingers like crazy.
That's right. It's kind of crazy how strong the kids' grips are, at that age.
Totally,
Like
yeah.
all I know it's all like tendon strength.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
their tummy muscles are super strong too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're super strong too. But like for a 4-month-old, that class is usually geared towards, first time parents or parents here with their babies all day and they need an outlet. And so a lot of it is more social interaction. But then, obviously there's a lot of like the babies hang on the bar. We teach them like, workouts with their kids and everything, and elementary gymnastics that they can safely do. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You
pretty.
mentioned that it was international. Do you know if there's some in Canada as well? Because
Oh, I'm sure
yeah,
there are. Yeah.
like I did a quick Google search and there's like 3 here. I'm not sure if it's affiliated with your company, but I think it
Well,
is. It looks
kind
like
of
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Pretty
definitely.
close
Some
to
in
us.
Edmonton.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
there's one in Langley.
oh,
Not
yeah.
Langley, Virginia, but Langley,
I want to get
Canada.
my kids into gymnastics. What would you say the optimal age for the kids to go into gymnastics would be?
Well, so our program again is more geared towards just learning the fundamentals, but more so just mental and wellness health. So if you're talking about like the actual competitive gymnastics, I mean, man, as soon as they're able, as soon as possible. I mean, super
That's a good
good,
point.
definitely 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But does not hurt at all if you can get them comfortable doing forward rolls at 1, which we have. We do have
Yeah.
a multi-roll forward roll.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like definitely any age, but
Yeah,
this program specifically is more so just building confidence and
yeah,
Right.
that's a good point. Yeah, if
yeah.
they want to be competitive or not. Yeah,
I
that's true.
I remember during the IIC 12 a few years back, and you had
Mhm.
brought your whole crew or a good part of your crew that worked for you
Yeah,
into to just hang out at the IIC. It
yeah,
was almost as if a little immersion for them, but it also gave me a little bit of insight about the kind of business that you were running. That all of these folks really deeply cared about, like kind of like this ethnic identity consciousness that you had is something that they actually cared for.
oh
And it's not like they were all Igorot people either, right?
no,
uh,
no,
but
yeah,
I was really impressed by their just openness to learn a little bit more, but also gave me some insight about the kind of like community that you were developing and kind of creating in your pocket of the world. Can you just share a little bit more about that?
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that seemed kind of like just really cool
Yeah,
and
no,
unique.
they're probably one of my proudest things that I've ever done with my business. Like having that team, and it wasn't all me, it was all them, and just being so open. So years ago, um, have you guys been to the DC Canao, the Virginia Canao?
Yeah.
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 Right. So
Definitely want to talk about that too, though. Like
oh,
the
oh,
beginnings of that at some point.
We
Yeah.
did a
I went
long
there
time
because
ago.
Wendy and her family went
right,
there, and
right.
Ingrid would go a lot
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So at our Kenya, we do we're pretty competitive. We'll do like Beaver DC versus Northeast versus Texas versus Southeast, and we do like volleyball, tug of war, like all those fun games, and it's a ton of fun. So like BMUG DC, it's kind of like an older group.
Mhm.
Our peak was definitely like in the 90s, and we're trying to rebuild, but kind of hard right now. But a few years ago, like probably in 2015 or so, my mom, seeing Darius and Micah, who are, very tall African American men, and they're all strong and they're built. And then Taz, and then Rebecca and Gage. Those are all the guys who came with me to Hawaii. Like really
Oh,
athletic,
okay.
athletic people. And my mom was like, "Do you want to come to Kenya?" I was like, "Oh." Huh? She just happened to stop by at work that one day. And I was like, I thought that'd be, I mean, sure, like they can totally come. And so, that was their first experience to the Igorot world. And I mean, it was cool, a lot, 3 hour, yeah, about a 3 hour drive. And along the way, they were asking me, so like, what's Igorot? Like, so like, what does that mean? What kind of culture is it? What kind of food is going to be there? And
Oh, right.
all that stuff. And so, ever since then, they started coming every year. Obviously, it's fun to play volleyball and everything, but they loved the cultural show. Loved it.
Mhm.
They actually participated, and
Oh, right
And a
on.
few of
Yeah.
them, yeah, they were playing the gongs and wearing the G-strings and everything. So, and it was awesome. And yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest one in that group, but they're all a few years younger than me. And I think, one of the privileges that I have of owning my own thing for a while is during like Christmas or Thanksgiving, and we'd have those team moments, I would always invite my parents. And when you invite the parents, you get the lumpia, the adobo, all of that awesome Filipino food, and it really, we tried so hard to make it into like a family style kind of organization, and that's what we did, and like it helps my business too, because when parents come in and they see our team and how we work together, how we act like a family. I mean, you guys know, as customers, you go into a restaurant and anything, you can feel that energy of the employees and how they interact with each other. I mean, I even remember a time when I was in a restaurant, I could hear people fighting like in one corner, like, and then you go into other places and they're so pleasant, or they're so the team is so real with each other, and you vibe on that energy. So yeah, and it's awesome. I will say, having that cohesive team and yeah, it was just so nice of them to be so open. And yeah, they're just, I mean, I got to interview them too, so I got to like pick my own family, from that, from all that.
Can I ask you like your hiring process? Like how did you like what was your process for the hiring? Like, you're looking for specific uh personality types, or like what did you do? Like,
I prefer not to get a gymnast in my business. I much prefer to get someone who was either in in drama, or if they're an athlete, especially because I knew that they had a previous past of working together. So I knew that they had a past of knowing the importance of being part of an actual team. So the way how I got this group is, Darius was my like OG hire. And he was just super nice, super personable, and like easy, like conversationalist, had a background in basketball. And then what I always do first for hiring people, if I need to find someone, I always send out an email to my current team or my past team.
oh wow.
If they know anybody. I've probably hired one person who didn't have like any connection to me or connection to the gym previously.
Okay.
But that always comes through, because it's like Tinder, or is it Tinder? What's the app where it's like,
Maybe not Tinder.
Maybe not Tinder.
where like it's a dating app where that person.
It's Tinder.
Is it Tinder?
Is it Tinder? Is that there's no like there's no other one that's not as
y'all are basically married. You guys should know, but yeah, it's Tinder.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
yeah,
I don't know
like
what
when
that
you
is.
know someone who knows someone, so they have more of like a they have, you just trust them a little bit more. So I always email out like, hey, like I'm hiring. Do you guys know exactly how I work? You guys know what our team is like? Anyone who'd want to work for me? And I would
right.
say
So a lot of the people you hire are connected with each other in some ways, right? So relationships is a big deal when hiring.
huge, yeah. So Darius and Mike are brothers. If you guys
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know they were brothers, man.
Yeah, they're brothers. They look so different, but like, so they're brothers. Gage is their friend. Taz was an ex-girlfriend of Darius, so now they're friends, obviously.
Okay.
They're exes before the gym. Just to clear that up. But and then Rebecca was the one who we just hired, who did not have, actually she had there was a mom who comes to the gym, and she knew that mom. That mom told her to come work for the gym. So.
Oh wow. So why don't you hire gymnasts?
It's like one of the things. How do I say this? And there's nothing wrong with gymnasts at all, for the gymnasts out there. Some gymnasts are really great at being gymnasts, and some gymnasts are I'm just gonna say it, like not so great at teaching it. And the ones that I need,
Yeah, I
and
get it.
specifically for the gym, for my gym,
Yeah.
it can't be so like, so regimented. It can't be so like, okay, like everyone has to get down to a split or else kind of thing. And
Mhm.
usually in that gymnast world, because I was in it, I got to experience it for a little bit. It's a lot more harsh, you could say.
Yeah, it's super competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Little Gym is all about, their slogan is serious fun. So yeah.
Is Little Gym on another level from Gymboree, or
I would say so. I mean,
Well,
so I got that question. I've gotten that question a lot in the past. They're just so different. Gymboree is definitely more music and play.
Mhm.
mhm.
They don't have any equipment. I got to take my niece to it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of singing, a lot of like parachute balls.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They're really young.
Super young, small footprint in terms of a brick and mortar. Yeah, and I think they only go up to like age 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had I mean, they do clothes. Like I feel like that's 50%, if not more, of their business.
It's marketing and branding there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the bubbles, those bubbles made out of like that certain sugar thing that kind of like lasts forever. I had one of those bubbles out of those little the blowers, and it was underneath my bed for like it seemed like a week.
Oh yeah, you can actually use those bubbles at the Little Gym.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's there or not, but whatever. Yeah, because it's good for peripheral vision. So it's good for,
Oh, developing purple.
for tracking. So like a bubble will come and they
Nice.
stay forever. As you said, they will stay forever, as Jay said, and like kids
Right.
will follow the bubble, and that's good for their tracking.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting because there's a lot of little skills that like kids will develop without even knowing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one way of doing it. Yeah. But yeah,
Oh.
man, if you don't catch those bubbles fast, they will stay there forever. It's like non-toxic, sugar-based bubbles, and technically they could eat them and it'll be okay. But
Yeah, there's a little
don't
sugar in
fall
there.
from
So.
that. Yeah.
Corn flour, corn flour, right? A little bit.
Harmless.
Have you ever experienced any like any conflict within between employees at any point?
Oh yeah. Totally. Like definitely like but not the kind that you would expect. I mean, our conflict, especially with that group, was just more so family, little crap here and there, like just
Yeah.
and all completely solvable. And like I would say, like even in Hawaii, it was like, I want to go out and party. And the other one's like, no, I'm too tired. That kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. And then but other than that, I mean, I was basically like mom at the gym, which I don't like that word, but they'd always come to me.
Happy Mother's Day.
Be a mediator and everything, but yeah, no major problems. I don't even think I've ever fired someone. Like, yeah.
Well, you'd remember that one if you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a
yeah.
tough thing if you have to let somebody go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just curious because like, well, I think you can prevent a lot of that by having a good hiring process and also like I mean, that just goes to show though, like when people are looking for jobs, it's important to have relationships with people.
Oh, for sure.
You can't be like a freaking island. And there was this notion when we were younger, like, oh, it's all just hard work. It's not necessarily all just hard work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you need to build connections with people, relational connections.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a big deal, like to learn amongst our people. Well, with anybody in general, right? But like anybody who's interested in kind of either running their own business or whatever has to develop some skills in social skills, basically, but also like finding people who have good character and values that might possibly match your own, I guess. I mean, were you looking for that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I really loved Darius because he reminded me so much of me. He was the youngest of 3 boys. Yeah, and like he had that grit in him. And I don't know if he learned from his parents, but like, yeah, it's the kind of person where like you can tell like it's not just a job for them. Like the money wasn't just their motivation. Like I will say one of the best things I ever read was a book called I think it's called Find Your Strengths or something like that. The Strength Finder test. Have you guys taken?
Find your strengths.
Yeah,
You know who wrote it?
I will in a few seconds.
The beauty of Google. The beauty of Google. Maybe some people would like to know about that. You know.
Okay, now discover your strengths, and it's from Gallup, Don Clifton, and that was a really pivotal book that I read, and that's when I really got to optimize on my team, especially with Darius and all them. But anyways, so
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so the hiring process. What you're saying? What was the question?
Oh, well, we were just going on, and but like just again about the process in which you're finding people.
Yeah.
And,
So the way how I like to find people is it's definitely personality.
Mhm.
It definitely has nothing to do with their gymnastic skills or knowledge of. I can train that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely more so their people skills and how they were able to talk to me and you relate to me, but not just in your basic like, do we like the same color? Do we read the same books? Do we like
Right.
nothing like that? It was just like if you can be relatable to me in any way, because if you're relatable to me, I know you'll find a way to discuss things with parents or children or something. Like, can you get down to my level as I'm interviewing you? Can you ask me actual questions that isn't just like how much is the hourly rate and what are the benefits? It's more like, okay, like it's interesting questions that you can ask me as an employer other than just your basic, like, what do I get out of this?
How about just kind of going more into like when we're talking about relationships, what about family, right?
Yeah.
You started it off with your sister. I mean, what was that like working together,
I mean, pros and cons, right? Like
Yeah.
definitely. And I was young. I was so young when we first started doing this. And I mean, and I came from the little gym background. Like that's how they knew about it because I used to work at the little gym as just a part-time instructor.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you asked that because I've always wanted to tell them this and say sorry about this.
Hey.
Being like the youngest and being like, like I'm from the little gym. Like
Mhm.
I definitely think I came off as like I know it all. And because I know it all, you guys should do what I do because I know it all. And
Oh wow.
but they were really good with me and really patient with me for as like as kind of crazy as I was when I was younger when we were starting this. But yeah, I mean, we knew each other as sisters, obviously, growing up, but we didn't know each other as team members,
Business partners.
partners, or
Yeah.
just, even working under each other. Because in the hierarchy of it all, Lonnie was top boss, and then
Mhm.
Jasmine, and then me. Technically, that's
Yeah.
how it was supposed to be. But the lines mesh a lot when it's actually happening, and so there are a lot of times when it was really hard and but I mean like I don't think I would have ever gotten to spend that amount of time with them if we hadn't had work together either.
Okay.
That's something that I think I'll always treasure. And one thing too with it too is they had kids while we had this gym together, and it was nice, being for them to leave and come back, or like I'll take a kid during the day and then they got me off with their other kid or whatever. But having that flexibility, and so like the sisterhood always ranked over like the business. That's for sure.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is super interesting.
Yeah, family dynamics is always kind of like I mean, there's one thing about being siblings, but then when you put it in like the form of when you guys have to interact business wise,
Oh yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
think about like when you're at home, right? And like in your
Mhm.
younger days, and I remember getting yelled at. I mean, I used to hate bringing in the groceries. And I was like, I mean, there's 3 of us. You guys are bigger and stronger than me. I'm just going to hang out, and like, or pretend I'm doing something. And now think of that like in the business model, right? So it's like, okay, well, you guys are older than me. I don't really feel like doing the windows or cleaning the bathrooms. And technically maybe on the middle now, so I'll just move equipment while you guys are actually cleaning because you guys are, better at that than I am. I don't know, but it's just funny how it translates from like sisters to business.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you guys survived that because it's difficult. Even my brother and I, we've done stuff like when I had my own acupuncture clinic and he helped me build it up together. But then there was some, like he had his decisions and I had my decisions, and then that was challenging enough.
I felt more like a venture capitalist than just,
Yeah. Well, he was more like a silent partner anyway. So
more like, it's just, that's what it was more like.
But then I find that there was a lot of joy though, like in working together with your own family. I found that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, again, like very fortunate to be able to spend that time with them that I would have never known or had, especially when the nieces and nephews started, coming along too, and having the flexibility of, owning the gym or so it was super cool. But I'm so glad you asked me that because I've always wanted to say sorry to them about being such a jerk when I was younger. So
it's humble of you to even recognize that. That just shows that you have some growth. I mean, out of all the things that we do in our lives, we just hope that we can grow.
Yeah.
So, if I was ever mean to you, Jay, I'm very sorry.
No, I was probably more mean. So, but you have to give and grow. So, I'm really wondering about kind of like the values that your parents instilled within you. Because it's clear that your mom and dad have very complementary personalities. It's and because of that, they have instilled different qualities within you that are also different within your sisters too. So I'm wondering which qualities from both of your parents do you feel that you've kind of like taken in?
Man, I mean, number one is just, I'm sure you guys all know, it's like being 110% respectful of your elders and everyone around you. I mean, that has transferred over to like how I talk to the parents at the gym. I don't say their first name, just their first name, because I feel super strange doing that.
Right.
I always say Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, and until they tell me to, and even then, like I still can't. I mean, my boyfriend's parents, I call them Mr. and Mrs. and they like tell me to stop, and I'm like, but I can't. I don't know how to do that.
You call them auntie and uncle?
No, because that hurts. No.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, for sure, just respecting everyone, and then I would definitely say like just stay super humble as much as possible. I mean, just in the way how you like approach people and talk to people, like they're so good about that. I mean, they can come off like, I love my parents and I hope everyone does too, but like sometimes being in a leadership position, a lot of people can kind of be a little bit judgy or just you only know what you see sometimes. And
I mean,
they're so good at, and I used to really get riled up about stuff in the past before, and I'm this is a podcast, I'm just gonna be honest. So like I used to get like super riled up with like if I heard something or if there was a rumor about my parents or something. But my mom would always take the high road, take the high road, and just like she would just just stay quiet, just observe, like don't react. So staying super calm and I don't know how she does it. Sometimes they're really both my parents, but
I do want to, if you don't mind me adding to that, because I think that what I find, especially within our community, possibly just Filipino community in general, like
Yeah.
when it comes to people, because your parents are very, they're very much in the leadership positions,
Right.
because
Mm.
they're outspoken and they do the work, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they do the work and they have the competency to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
I think those are
amongst our community, it's challenging because like it's easy for people to judge, people's either their intentions or who they are and whatnot. It's very easy to judge people who are actually helping to lead an organization or helping to lead a group of people because they're not really doing that work,
Yeah.
and it's difficult because the leaders always have to find ways to balance, whether
Yeah,
it be politics or just balance the feelings of all kinds of people,
for sure. And
even amongst their own and also their own feelings about things, and
yeah,
I find that very challenging because even my parents and also my in-laws,
yeah,
they've also experienced that as well. So,
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, I, always saw that happen to my parents, right?
mhm.
And
Mhm.
when I started to really, I raised my hand in Austria, in 2014, and they were thinking about the next IIC and where it was going to be. And I was like, what about Hawaii? And then they were
good idea.
and then Auntie Conchita was like, awesome, you're in charge. And I was like, great. And then
Oh, so she did that. Oh, that's funny.
she was like, oh, this is great. She was like, the youth will do it. Excellent. Meeting adjourned. Let's go.
Oh, that's
But,
funny. Oh,
that
wow.
was really
Hey,
funny. Really funny.
Wow. Hey, how do you feel about still being called youth, even though like the majority of us already have like kiddos?
That's a great question because like
what
In our
is that?
30s, man.
frame
Yeah.
it though. Frame it, Jay. Like, why are we asking this question?
Well, because even then, come on, man, I'm pushing 50. So what? And I have kids, older kids. They're good enough to have their own kids almost. So I'm like, dude, and I remember just being in that, like, oh look, it's the youth, the leaders of the youth. I was like, dude, no, the leaders of the youth are my children. And it's I know it's a generational thing,
It's definitely a
but
generational
I just
thing.
think that it's just kind of funny because, well, I mean, I'm looking closer to retirement than I am starting out now.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of like the funniest thing, just
Yeah.
to continue to hear it that way. So I'm just wondering what you think about it.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't like being called ate when I go to Filipino store or anything, but I think it's fun. I don't know. I'm also, again, like youngest kid, so like I enjoy, like I want my parents, here for a very long time, for as long as I can make it. And like, I don't know. There's something nostalgic about being called the youth that I just really love. And it makes me feel young. and but it is funny. Like it is super, super funny.
Oh yeah, it
And
is
'cause
funny.
I'm pretty sure I'm yeah, like I don't think Lonnie likes being called the youth. Hey man, that's why we have next generation, right? Igorot leadership, right? That's
Yeah,
the group.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting because that's just something. I think
It is
it's
nice to be
definitely.
lumped with the super youngsters though, but still, like if we have,
When it comes to becoming a leader, it's hard when you're like in your 30s and 40s and they're still calling you youth.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a generational thing, but I think it's funny that you brought that up, just because it is an issue,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then what do you call the children?
Yeah, yeah.
the
And the
super youth.
and the fact that like our parents were like around our age when they were starting up these bebop organizations,
Yeah.
Right.
and they weren't considered youth. So it's.
When do you think they're gonna stop calling us youth?
I don't think ever.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Never. Even if we have gray hair. Look at Tim Botengan, man. Look at that dude. I mean,
Jay's beard.
Oh, yeah,
I think
look at
Mark
this.
has more gray.
Yeah,
Mark
I have
has
more.
more
Mark,
grades.
Since the
Mark,
lockdown, I've gotten
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
grade. This man,
Look
this
at
is
that.
crazy.
youth.
Yes,
Youth,
I'm a youth still. It's so funny, man. It is what it is, though. I think that like I mean we made our case for it, like in the IIC, and I think almost every group kind of does in a way. But I thought we made our case for it quite well. But I think our aunties and uncles are still just gonna call us youth, regardless.
Yeah.
And what they really mean, if you translate it, is they probably mean second generation. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
That's what they really mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of just desensitized to it now, and it's just I guess that's a bad thing, but yeah, I'm just used to it. It's just automatic. I'm just like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, unlike you guys, I don't have any kids, so there hasn't really been a change. You know what I mean? From my youth
Uh-huh.
to now.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like
Point. I'm
whatever.
in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird because even when I started having kids, it was like, really? Come on, man. I mean, we already got a
I
bunch of these
know.
little kiddos.
Yeah,
know?
I know.
But I do like the way you looked at it, because it does place us where, hey, we could still be very youthful in our approach to with our older generation, but also in a way honor that, because I think that in a very healthy way, in a very well-meaning way, there's this connection that there's it's almost like a term of endearment,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
And I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Especially if
and
you grew up in that community,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking
Um,
on the whole generational thing, there is a difference between like their generation and our generation. So it like the term of youth gives that delineation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
like, we have a different perspective. So they do. So do they. So that's an interesting way of thinking about it too. I didn't actually think about it until now.
So we just need to redefine what youth means, because it's not.
Yeah, for ourselves.
yeah,
Ourselves
yeah.
and within our community, our context, and within our community, because I mean, like, you mentioned like, oh, I think you kind of mentioned that BMAC is trying to make its way back,
Mhm.
and that's because it
Oh.
has a lot to do with our generation, how
Mhm.
we're going to be the ones, or we are the ones that's starting to carry. And we had Charlene Okab on like last season, Gerald?
Yeah.
Last season, right? And so she was on last season, and she was talking about the same thing in her bebop as well, that
Yeah.
they're at that point of transition where they're trying to also bring things back, and it's mainly like second generation Igorots who are trying to, I don't know, relive that spirit that their parents had and their aunties and uncles had, and bring it back, because it's in our age now that we're really seeing and valuing, oh damn, man, this was special for us. We want this for our children, and we want this for the next generation.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So, I think
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, and I was gonna say, and that's why I was like, well, what about Hawaii? Because I knew everyone would come, because I
Mhm.
knew, I mean, Austria, the
Mhm.
IIC in Austria was a lot of fun. And as growing up a kid going to all those IIC events, it's like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're gonna see a lot of people. And it was well attended, but not nearly as well as it has been in the past. And a lot less kids, and a lot less variety of ages. And I kind of started to freak out, because I was like, wait a minute, like, this is such a great event. This is how, like, in my childhood, this was important. I loved going to these things between Canaos and IICs. I mean, that really, like, definitely was so memorable growing up in Washington, D.C. Like, I don't have an outlet, other than that. So that's why I was like, okay, if I do Hawaii, I think a lot more people will come, and I think a lot more youth will come too.
Youth,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
And there
Um,
was.
yeah, I was so happy. I mean, like, like some of the people who I met for the first time, and then people from the IICs that I went to in high school and middle school, they all, like, a good amount of them came, and I was like, oh my goodness,
Mm.
so cool. Yeah, like it was like a reunion from the IICs that I remember
It
seeing
was.
a long time ago. Yeah, it was so great. I was so happy with it. Definitely one of the proudest things I've ever done in my life,
Yeah.
or to be part of. Yeah.
And thanks for it was an honor to help out with that as well,
Oh,
you know.
man,
And
you guys weren't. I don't know.
I mean, like, it was really cool because, like, I think that was I think our family was going through a lot of transition as well, just personally, you know, and so it was an opportunity to really, like, reconnect in a
Yeah.
way that was I don't know, there's something about it when you're reconnecting with, like, not only your community, it's like you're reconnecting to your ancestors again in such
Oh,
a way. It's hard to explain, you know.
yeah.
It's a feeling.
I hear you. And I mean, like, we had a family friend who, or an uncle who died in BMFDC recently,
Mm.
and I saw they're posting pictures of them in Hawaii, and I was like, oh, I'm
Right.
so glad they had that moment. And then same with Uncle.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, like,
Uncle Marshall.
Yeah.
yeah, when he
Yeah,
passed
rest
away,
in peace. Love you,
mm,
man.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Respect to the Wandug family.
Oh, I know. I'm
Mhm.
like, my dad and Uncle Marshall they're really close, and like,
Yeah.
they that's how they saw each other, like, in person, was through IIC. So, like,
Mm.
you know, being able to be part of that was awesome, like, so cool.
That was, I mean, that was like the last time we were all together in that
Yeah,
kind of event with him. And
yeah,
yeah, that was special, man. That was definitely
Yeah,
special.
actually, yeah. Personally, also, our Uncle Phil passed away. But that,
And he
when they
went.
do,
That's right.
yeah, he was there too. And so
yeah,
when the photos that we posted, that a lot of the photos posted were from that time period. And so, I think for a lot of us, we will look back to this time. It was like a big family reunion.
oh,
You think
huge,
about that.
yeah,
And you think about, like how we understand family, and the family that we create, the family that we're born into, and these kind of events really, just like church, right? um it 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 really opens up this idea of family to be a much wider thing.
oh yeah,
And the Igorot events, the local Igorot events, and then these big, wide, kind of like worldwide events, really are part of that. And so, yeah, this is really special.
yeah,
Just to think about that, it's like, oh yeah, we all danced together. We played the gongs together. We talked story, and we ate together.
Yeah.
And those will be times where, we hope that with our younger generations, that's also something that they continue
hmm,
to um look at as they create their families too.
yeah,
um
and
and just
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, just to be able to create that, what was really, really special. 'Cause now that I'm thinking about it, just looking up, I don't know, Gerald, if you have some photos up there, but it'd probably be good to just pop some photos as we're talking, uh, so that people know what the heck we're talking about. Because I think it'd be kind of cool.
You can do that in the post edit,
I was honestly
Yeah.
looking.
fun, yeah,
or I'll just I can make you host too. So
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
if
I
you
was
want to
looking, but
just.
then I think it's in a different hard drive. I can't find it right now.
Oh damn.
What was super cool about this IIC was when Gerald and Needle, you guys, like, brought in all your, like, production stuff, and that took this particular IIC to a whole different level. I mean, it was truly next generation, which is what this part of.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
right.
watching their faces at the end of
Mm,
it,
mm,
right? Like during
mm.
our meeting, and when Gerald, you put on that little few minutes of, like, what you had recorded in previous weeks. I mean, that, like, blew their mind when they were watching it. And even
Yeah.
funny, I actually watch from time to time, and I start crying because I'm a baby.
Oh.
But, like, I love it, and, like, you guys did such an awesome
That
job.
was all Gerald, dude. That was all Gerald.
No.
That was like same day
No,
edit at a
it was-
wedding, man.
That was all
It
Gerald.
was a lot of work, but it was definitely something we wanted to bring to this, this function that the next generation put on, and yeah, I think it was.
Mhm.
You're right. It did give that feeling of, the next generation actually did it and did
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Now I'm excited about we're going to New Zealand, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully that works out.
Has it been pushed back again? Is
2022
still-
December.
Wow,
December, isn't it?
December?
Oh, was it December?
I don't know.
December
Wow.
2022, right?
Yikes.
Oh. Yeah, I think so.
That's
think
like
that's-
their
I think
idea
it's-
of summer.
Because it is
Right.
summer for them.
That's summer for them, right?
Yeah, man. Because if you probably go and you like toward like around summertime, it'd be burning hot over there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's their summer, so it will be hot.
It'll be hot, but
Yeah.
it'll be more temperate than it would be in the actual summertime. I think.
Find out.
Yeah.
I'm not really too sure though. Anyways, if anybody
Yeah,
from New
it's true.
Zealand could leave a comment, we're talking December after Christmas, right?
22.
Yeah, into the
22.
new year. It'll be that after Christmas. and
Yeah,
into the
it's
new year.
between those. It's,
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
It's gonna
man,
be interesting.
I want to see the
Yeah.
Igorot haka, man.
Yeah.
Hey, their group over there is pretty cool.
They are, yeah.
So down
Yeah,
there.
they got like a really deep integration of what location they're at, but also what their roots are. So I think that's and I think we all reflect that in different ways. I mean, coming from America or Canada, we have like the Canadians. You guys are like hecka more laid back than Americans.
Super
The
chill,
Canadians are
man.
always like, yeah, you guys are a little bit more chill and just more rational thinking than us Americans. Americans are just
I don't know. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I was gonna.
maybe so.
I was gonna say, are you
Not
sure
the
about
French
that?
side, right? Not the French
Yeah.
side.
No comment. No. Comment.
No.
It's
Can I have some
complicated.
Molson though? Do y'all still drink Molson over there?
Yes, the
Sure.
superior beer. The superior. Beer.
Superior, right? Superior. There you go.
Quick question: could you talk a little bit about the Canao, like on your end, because the history of it, like as much as you know, that is,
Yeah, so it was
Mm.
5 families. My family was in it. It was originally, I want to say it was 1980. I think it was like 1987 or something like.
Hold on. Let me frame it for the guys in Canada, because if you haven't been there, it's because if like on the West Coast, because we haven't really organized it in the way that they have in the East Coast. So when we do Canao, it's usually like a fundraiser done in a ballroom, have dinner, and then like we do a little bit of the dances, and then have a dinner dance at the end, kind of thing. So it's like a gala. But over there on the East Coast, all the different Igor organizations come together and they celebrate like a big camping trip along with all
Really?
kinds of fun organized activities. So it's major. Like the East Coast, on the East Coast,
Yeah,
this
it's like
event is
days.
major.
You guys got to come out
Days.
when you can. You guys will love it. I mean, it's
It's
exactly
different.
what he said. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to frame it before you got into the history.
So, no, you know what? I'm glad you did that, because I do remember looking at like Instagram photos of like California Canao, and I was like, ooh, I wonder what games they play, or whatever. And I saw like everyone
It's
dressed.
different, man. It's different.
No, it's different. Different.
Why not I see gala night?
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically started out with 5 families. It was my parents, because they lived in California. They lived in San Diego, and they were part of San Diego at that time. And they had their kind of stuff. They brought it to the East Coast. And then that's when they formed their own Canao. And originally it was at this small little base in near Chesapeake Bay and near Annapolis and near Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And then a lot of people started to come, so they needed a bigger area. And then a lot of people came from the north and the south, so they made it more central.
How many organizations come in together for this?
Oh man, definitely more than I'm gonna say, but from what I know, it's Northeast, BMXGC, another Maryland organization, I forgot their name, Virginia Beach, Southeast Texas then joined. And everyone,
Texas.
yeah, they drive. I don't think I've ever heard of
Oh
it.
crap!
Flying.
Yeah.
I mean, it became like a
Wow.
big thing in Florida. Like, I
Yeah.
think we're part of the Southeast group. I'm pretty sure I'm missing like 3. But yeah, it's a big deal. So what we do, the first night's always a youth night, like true youth, like children come out and do like a show. And then each meal is assigned to a different group. So like I know Virginia Beach will always do breakfast Sunday morning or brunch because they're the ones who live there. So they'll clean up and everything. And then like DC will be in charge of dinner Saturdays. Northeast will be in charge of lunch, and so that's how we all assign all the food. The food operations. But then we get into like the day sports on Saturday. So Friday everybody arrives. There's always a golf tournament because uncles and aunties. And then Friday evening, youth night and dinner. Saturday we do breakfast, and then we begin the games between softball, basketball, tug of war, and then other little games. But it's always
The
like
competition's pretty like it gets intense between you guys out there.
it can get a little scary. It's been questionable. We actually had to take out basketball because it just got too intense.
Oh wow.
People hacking.
Too much pow.
Yeah. And then they do like a mile run in the morning and stuff like that. And then after all the games, then we have cultural night, and that's where every organization will present a different number. And then Sunday we have math, and then brunch, and then the award ceremony where there's like a big trophy, like a big Canao trophy. Like if you're the overall winner for the overall sports, then you get that trophy. And then that trophy just, moves to a different place every year. But then golf trophies, volleyball trophies, first, second, third place,
Right.
stuff like that. So it's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. And
it's pretty significant.
Yeah, from 5 families to like a lot of people.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
So you're saying the original idea came from the San Diego Bebop?
It did. Yeah, at least from what I know. At least that's the story that I know. That were my parents originally. Yeah, because that's the group that they were part of when they were stationed.
Right.
They did Canao.
That's right, because your dad was in the military, so he was down in San Diego where the bases were. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, and the West Coast, like the intention was always there. I remember somebody from the East Coast, it might have even been your dad, was saying, "Hey, don't do it, because if you guys start doing it, no one's gonna go to ours."
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that I if I can remember, like there were talks, but I think that at that time everybody was dealing with their own politics within their own group.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why that never came into fruition. But because
I remember attending something like that down in LA like 6 years ago, back in 2015. There were people, there were Igorots or Bebop from Nevada, Arizona.
Oh, that's the sports thing, right?
Yes, it was just Sports Fest though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sports fest. They have something like that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's like the closest thing that I experienced back in the day. Because like it was San Diego, Coe, I think Benguet 13, and then people from Arizona and Nevada, they all came down that one year.
I think that's definitely derived. I would say it's probably influenced by the East Coast Canao, that spirit of competition.
They're probably just looking at like how things look, and it's just big community thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we always said that we wanted to do one of those things, but our group never did because like we had to think of a sport that we actually could win at. Yeah. I think the only thing that we could is probably like target. We could probably do like target shooting or something, and
Oh, maybe shooting actually.
Shooting. Yeah, that would be. Shooting. Yeah, that would be the one that we would win at. We'd have to go get a range.
It's funny, man. Yeah, we on our side we don't have the big Canao, but we just have they have quite a few events throughout the year of gathering, so that kind of makes up for it in our area though. But man, that is an amazing amount of organizing. When you think about like bringing all of these all these different Igorot organizations together, and then having something like an Igorot Olympics.
Listen, it's so funny. I tried to do it for Hawaii. I tried to do America versus England versus Canada versus New Zealand, versus whatever. But
that would have been interesting.
Would have been awesome. Would have been it was a logistical mess, but it was cool. That's still something I still want to do.
It was challenging though because we didn't have enough people on the ground to help us out.
Yeah. Then that is exactly where it was like, this might be messy. Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't have locations set.
No. Yeah.
Right. That would be.
Do you think something like that would be feasible in the future?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. As long as there's people on the ground to help us out to locate a position in the space, then it would just be a matter of organizing. Organizing like who
the local logistics would be the challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, what I ran into when I was trying to do that was there wasn't enough time. So if we had a whole day that we could have added on, it would have been okay. And it was the resort, so it was a military resort, so we only had access to certain things. So
that's right.
That I ran into. Although we were so close to organizing a volleyball game, but that just became like a friendly thing and not an Olympic thing. But otherwise, it's definitely something I'd want to do, or try to do, or help out with in the future.
In England over here, they are pretty intense with their, because a lot of the folks in the UK, they're like about their 30s and early 40s. There's a lot of folks out here at that age, and so they're really still competitive. They do every freaking sport. Like they have a picnic day, or they call it sport day, and they'll do everything from relay races to basketball to baseball to just a bunch of these crazy team games, and then they do it by province, and man, it can get a little bit
that can get kind of
it's not even by organization because it's by province, and it's like
no, once you start doing that, man, you can get kind of like you could get I think that's probably why we didn't do those things. The leaders over in this side said, "Nah, we just end up fighting each other."
I'd say like the leaders on our side, like in Northern California, are pretty chill though. I don't think they're.
Yeah, I think that was just something that, hey, I'd rather get together and drink whiskey with you.
Yeah, that's what they did, is drink a lot.
Yeah, that's what they did, right?
They did that all the time anyway.
Yeah, and sing country music. So it's like
sing country music. That's what we did actually.
And then pull out the gong so they can line dance. So,
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
I have to say, I think over here the sports by province actually worked, and it got a lot of people to join.
I was gonna say
because otherwise everybody's just split off in their own groups. And doing gatherings that way instead of regular.
That's true.
Through
it brings people together.
It kind of worked.
Like before the pandemic, they started implementing that. They organized a sports fest, and basically all these people that never went to BBAC, they're all Igorots. They started like participating. We're like, oh, what the heck? Where'd they come from? And then the pandemic hit. So
yeah. That'd be interesting if we tried to pull it off in Northern California, something like that, because we've never done that.
Well, they're doing it in LA, so I think the idea is that everybody, if they want to participate, go down to the big one in LA.
Yeah.
I'd love to do is we could do rally racing. Just grab old cars and just do demolition derby, man. That would just be so awesome.
That's another level, bro. That's another
big
level.
Car crushing. Hey, let's just make up our own monster trucks. And I'll call mine Big Feet. Igorot Big Feet. Anyways,
they did do leg wrestling one year at the Canao.
Oh, like the Ifugao style or leg wrestling?
Oh my gosh, leg wrestling.
Anybody get hurt?
Really?
Yes.
I think a few uncles had cramps, and they.
I can totally see that happening. Like hamstring. Oh man.
Or
groin issues.
Groin issue. Oh man. Oh man. Make sure you got insurance for that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do remember that. Because then they didn't do it again. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. I can see that being painful to some people.
here, especially after tug of war. But yeah.
But yeah, I have to give it to the folks over here, like who are running the Igorot UK, like, people who are involved, because Igorot UK is an umbrella organization of all the different provincial organizations. That's how it works now over here. So the big people have their thing, and they're all kind of separated. And like you said, it's true. When you have that sports day, it is nice because they all come together. And although it gets competitive, it's still a spirit. There's still a good spirit that comes through it. And then I don't see any bad blood with each other. Although they have their own. Everybody has their own weird politics going on, but it's kind of nice to see. As long as it brings people together, I think it's
For sure. I mean, and that's what I love about like what you guys are saying too up in Canada, like how the sport was just evolving. I mean, say they don't do the cultural stuff, but they come to and do sport stuff. Like, of course, now I'm thinking like business minded, but like it's a great marketing tool to get them to come do the sports and they play, and they, who knows? Like they might learn how to play the gongs, or they'll learn something from it.
That's
a
true.
great way, as you said, to bring people together. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, I love hearing about what you guys were doing on the east, because the closest we came was doing Canaos with Seattle.
Yeah.
We used to do those. We would go over down there. I guess we would switch every year. Obviously, we can't cross the border now, but we'd switch every year, and they would host. We would host. But usually, if they hosted, it was in some military base, and there's like huge ground. Everybody camps there and stuff. And yeah, every time we went, it was pretty fun. It was pretty awesome. And
was it like a big camping event, kind of like?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We camped that. I think I only remember camping with them one time, but they did it basically every year.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So across the border for that. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So what happened now? Are you guys not? Oh, it's
COVID.
Can't even cross the border.
That is a thing to kind of bring up though, with COVID, because it's a lot of things that's happened. Like, the one thing I can say, if there's ever been people who, like, let's say they have issues with each other within the community, the nice thing is that when you have these gatherings, these Igorot gatherings, and there's like, it used to be that there was always like an Igorot gathering almost like once a month over here. And then people can kind of like, even just being in each other's presence, whatever like baggage you have with somebody, if you're just in their presence, it kind of fades away. But what I've observed is that since we've been in lockdown and we haven't had any gatherings for like a year and a half now, it's been kind of
all the tensions have remained. Then.
All the tensions have remained amongst certain people, right? So I don't know. Have you guys been able to do anything since COVID at all? Any of the groups?
We had like a production show in the middle of lockdown.
I don't even know how that worked, and that was how that was approved. But
luckily, because we were partnering with the Canadian Red Cross, it was okay in that sense. So we had everything was already set, but then the province did a province-wide shutdown, which affected like basically everything. I know a lot of people in the wedding industry, like they had to cancel most of their stuff basically. But for us, like for the whole 8 months since March, or 6 months since March, BBAC didn't do anything. BBAC Vancouver didn't do anything. Wow. They had some meetings and whatnot, but then in the summer they were like, hey, there's a bunch of government assistance programs for cultural stuff. And then one of the uncles, Uncle Cliff, was like, hey, let's utilize it. And then we were getting everything set and everything like that. All the youth were the ones like organizing everything. And then the lockdown happened.
Real youth, not us.
like 10 years younger than me, youth.
Okay, real youth. Teenagers and
exactly. Children. But yeah, they were the ones that were organizing everything. They were the ones like making the set and everything like that. They've been the ones that are actually like super active. They're the ones that are keeping basically like BBAC in the cultural stuff alive, essentially, from our neck of the woods. But yeah, so in the middle of November, everything shut down, and then we were like, is this still happening? But luckily, because of that, because the fact that we were partnered with the Canadian government essentially and Canadian Red Cross, it was set to run, albeit like only like 20 people were there, like
Yeah, I
super
think it was
social
more.
distance.
Yeah, it was more the
Is that the
amount of
one you
people
guys
that could come in
videoed?
or not. I think
Sorry, is that?
Edel did.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
do anything.
Yeah,
Edel
yeah.
did everything.
Oh, all right.
I just took pictures, and then we had a live stream on Facebook. I think we still have the footage for it, but
Yeah.
that was the only thing that we've been able to do. Other than that, like no meetings, no. I mean, there's been meetings, but they're all just through Zoom, right? Nothing compared to like how it was before a year ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a.
Have you guys
Well-
any of you have been able to do anything?
We haven't done anything. I mean, I think some folks within the community have gotten together and done things on the side, but because
Yeah,
we
no
run
official.
no official. Yeah, like we like, and my wife and I haven't been involved much. We've mainly been focusing on church and stuff like that. We haven't been involved with any other gatherings outside, just because since we run a care home, like we have to be really careful,
Right.
like in exposing ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but I think mental health, in terms of like mental health of our folks, man, like just gathering is such a big deal, like
Yeah.
just having what. So is the Kanyo gonna? I mean, because things are gonna relax at the later portion of the year.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I haven't heard anything about it. I also haven't asked about it, to be fair.
Hmm.
I can tell you that my area where we are, and specifically the county that I live in, where they're very strict. I mean, my business was operating at 25%
Mhm.
until March 26th. And then now we're at 50%. And like, we're still, I mean, this is the most strict county in the nation. Yeah, it's been pretty tough. So with that mentality, right? So
Yeah.
like I'm nervous. I'm already I've gotten both of my vaccines, and
Okay, right on.
I've already I still wear 2 masks at work. Like I still, when I see my parents, like now we're starting to not wear masks, but even then my parents aren't really like taking, having people come in and
Mhm.
into their house or anything. So from what I know, yeah, at least BMFDC for sure has not been gathering within in their groups. A
I
lot of
see.
chatter on Facebook message. I mean, I don't know how I'm in this, but I don't know if you guys are in this, but I'm somehow part of like the IGO Facebook message group. It is like
You're still part of the organization. You're in charge still.
I don't know how I'm in there, but I mean, my phone just like I have to turn my setting off at night because like it will
Yeah.
just. I mean,
They're constantly on, isn't it?
constantly on. It
Yeah.
is like, yeah, it
And
is.
it goes through the time zones.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and it's Easter was a big day for everybody, so it was like Easter for like 2 days really because of the time zones.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, they found a way to connect. That's for sure. Like that is for sure, at least to talking to people, if not engaging in person. So,
But going back to your business and like how have you handled the whole lockdown and everything?
it's been super hard, especially with it being a children's business too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and this county is very liberal, so
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
so they've been very good about like, okay, like we'd love to come back, but we're not ready yet. But then we have a few like extreme conservatives who are like, I only want my kid to go into a class if there are no other without a mask on, and
Oh,
like
really?
yeah,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
technically we actually in like the bylaws of some of the they ran into this COVID thing. As a gymnastics place, kids don't have to wear masks if they're doing like extreme sports.
Mhm.
and gymnastics is considered a sport. So it's hard because I have to please everybody. Like when we first started to go back in, and like we were shut down completely from mid-March to June 22nd. So like completely shut down, no business, no anything. I was really afraid to go in because, there wasn't a vaccine then. I still wanted to see my parents, and I didn't see them inside for the longest time. We were outside, like in their backyard, very far apart. But I mean, it's either I shut down the gym or I tried to make a living, and people depended on me, and I still needed to work. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's such a hard place to be in. And then I had to, because I heard it from both sides of like anti-maskers and maskers about like, I'm only bringing my kids in if they're no mask. I'm only bringing my kids in if they are masked. So like I had different classes for different things.
Were people like really just looking at that as some sort of political statement, or is that just because just coming from the Bay Area, it's a little bit different, just because there's a little bit more culture about safety and vaccination and mask wearing in this place. But I'm just wondering in different parts.
I would definitely say, I'm still in DC. Like I'm about 15 minutes away from DC. So it's like, I would definitely say it's 50% safety, 50% political. Yeah.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, yeah, it's just so tough.
It's interesting. So at what age in the States are they doing the mask for the kids? Because over here, anybody 15 and under doesn't have to wear a mask.
Really?
Yeah.
So over here in my county, it's kids 3 and younger who don't have to wear a mask.
How old is that?
3 and younger.
3 and younger. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Trying to get a 4-year-old to wear a mask.
For us here in California, it's 4.
4?
I think it's 4 and under. Yeah. So it's before they could go to pre-K, preschool.
Okay.
Or 3 or 4. I can't remember.
How good are the kids with keeping a mask on? I'm just curious.
The ones that come to the gym are extremely well trained in keeping their mask on.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they'll run around, they'll get hot, and then they'll try to
breathe.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they're good about putting it back on. And then we've had a few parents who've come in, they try to get their kid to wear a mask, and they won't wear a mask, and then they just don't sign up, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
At the same time, I get it. Like I understand.
It's tough.
Yeah.
If anything, their cells will become more efficient in terms of trying to absorb oxygen.
Yeah.
Because people train with these special masks. Like Gerald has one.
Altitude masks.
Yeah, altitude masks that limit the oxygen so that your cells become more efficient in absorbing oxygen into the body. And
there's
so
no proof that works though. But maybe you never know.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's a hard sell because generally our population runs, just human population will run 50% conservative, 50% progressive minded, no matter where you go. That's why the presidency always goes back and forth. I mean, it's been like that for a long time already. And so and then people attach like vaccinations and coronavirus into their politics too, because our grounding is less. We're struggling, I think, to define things that we have in common. I mean, if we can't even say stuff like at least Americans can sing the national anthem, and we have a hard time trying to figure out how we're gonna do it. And that's just a kind of like a basic thing about like being in the United States. I think that it's that definitely finding the common language is hard, because back in the day, I mean, I know anti-vaxxers, and then I just say, hey, you forgot about polio, didn't you? Or smallpox. Come on, man. Do you want that? Did you want that to come back? No, you don't even remember, because it's not there. Because we vaccinated that thing out of existence almost, So what's the difference? And there is just a lot of all over the place.
Oh, it changes
Um,
my DNA. That's why.
yeah, like dude. I mean, our kids don't even remember chicken pox now because it's been vaccinated out. Mumps, you know. So there's all kinds of stuff that I think we forget, and yeah. So but I mean, there's definitely underlying things all about why people are making these kind of choices.
Well, yeah, I know I know folks with the vaccination, like the folks who usually are anti-vax, they don't like all the stuff that's preservatives and the stuff that they put in there. So to make the vaccinations last, like shelf life will last really long, and that I kind of get that, because I had a doctor, a pediatrician for my kid, who chose certain types of brands of vaccination that didn't have all that crap in. So if I have a choice, I'm not against, or I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I do like having the choice of having the ones with less preservative in it, so that like it's it's more pure and there's maybe less possibility of allergic reactions, or so I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Man, I drink Diet Coke, so that's enough preservative for me.
Oh God, dude, aspartame. Like that's,
Aspartame.
I'm not big onto
No.
aspartame, man. Makes me feel weird.
Yeah.
Then again, MSG makes me feel weird, but I like it.
Right?
Who doesn't like the
that's
Ajinomoto, man? I mean, golly.
Yeah. So
Food is food.
Yeah, food is food. But yeah, man, how did we went pretty far away from the thing on the Canao and the
Oh, are we doing it this year? I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah, I think, for us, I don't, because it's East Coast, and because it's, it's such a wide range of land that we cover, right? For all these attendees. I know I won't be going. Granted, it is outside that. I don't know. So there's all these factors. I don't know. But that's just, again, because of what I do, and I don't want to accidentally get anybody's. I don't know. I don't even know if if you can even pass it now. All I know is everything's not 100%. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm totally fine with people gathering. I just want to make my voice too and stuff. And but yeah.
How about like work-life balance? Because when there are things with like running a business where you can be so like absorbed into it.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of have that, I don't know, life, quote unquote, depending what that means to you. But like
So
Also, at what age did you become sole owner?
what
And
age?
then Mark's question. Sorry.
I'm 34, and it was 2017. And that age.
How long ago was that now? That was 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like when you were 29.
Yeah.
Or 30.
Okay, 20 and 30, yeah.
Yeah, 20. It was June of that, so I think I was actually 28. But yeah, I don't know. I'm also probably making myself younger than I am, but follow.
I look young.
I mean, Asians don't raisin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But and then, sorry, what was the second question on that?
Oh no, I was just talking about work-life balance. Like, how's that been for you to try and, as an entrepreneur, it can be challenging because you're the owner, so
So we are open 7 days a week, and I feel like I'm working 7 days a week, and it could be something like, I'm always on call, and everyone knows that. But it's not that bad. I don't mind it. Like I like keeping in contact with my team. But they also know the boundaries of like, okay, like if we're running out of something, maybe you don't have to call me. Maybe you can just shoot me an email, or I can find out about it say. So it's like
right.
definitely creating those boundaries of like, okay, what is appropriate to contact me with and what is not. But I mean, yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's balanced. It's definitely more work than
Mm.
life, but it is my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's yeah, it's always been, yeah, I would always my friends would always make fun of me because anytime we tried to do like a dinner or something, I was always late,
Mhm.
because I was always tied up at work, or I was on my phone because I was getting messages. And I mean, we deal with kids. Like I need to know something, is going on. It's hard. I mean, we had one kid who just got a concussion a few weeks ago.
Oh no.
I mean, gymnastics, right? So the
Jeez.
liability
Yeah, that's true.
is
Yeah.
scary. So like, yeah, I needed to be all over that when it happened.
Oh yeah, man. That's tough. The paperwork, right? The
Yeah,
paperwork.
paperwork is, but then yeah, and also like, oh my goodness, I hope this kid is okay. What happened? Look at the cameras, record the camera. Like it's all these things go into something like that, and because of the nature of the business, with it being kids and with it being gymnastics, with it being parents that you deal with too, it can be a lot. But I will say that made me tougher. Like like I can definitely take heat. I can definitely take criticism pretty easily, and it used to bother me a lot if a parent was unhappy with our program or with the teacher or whatever when I was younger. And then, like,
Mm.
as I get older, not that it rolls off my shoulder or anything, I don't care, but I definitely know how to handle something like that way more than I did years ago.
Was that just from like how the process of learning how to let go of things? Was that
Yeah,
how did you go about that, or was it just experience? Or
definitely experience and definitely a lot of self-help books. Like,
right on. Yeah.
yeah, just, not letting something completely overtake you, and then it carries on to everything that you do and how you treat people and how you go about your day. I mean, you develop a quick, thick skin when dealing with parents and their kids. And me, I
Oh,
mean,
God. Yeah.
of
Right.
course, I want to be, yeah, of course I want to be accommodating and do everything right. I mean, these parents trust me, and my
Mhm.
team with their kids. So that's a big
Mhm.
responsibility when they're in our space, like totally huge. um, but yeah, I would definitely say a lot of reading. No one should ever sleep on books, and I think everyone should get a therapist or read self-help books.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. Like, I
Yeah.
recommend
Yeah.
it for.
Who's your go-to self-help mentors?
May Brown, I really like her.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have heard of Mel Robbins. She's on Audible. I listen
Mel Robbins, no?
all
Mel
the
Robbins?
time. She created this. It's called the 5 second rule, where you just like, you just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then like move on. Kind of like Nike, you just do it, but like in a scientifical way with a lot of science backed by it. Like if you just tell yourself, like, I try to walk or run every morning for 2 miles before work.
Oh, that's good.
I
Yeah.
don't like to. Then I'll like tell myself like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, get up. Like it creates like something in your mind to just like reshift, refocus, and like just go. So a lot of that, especially with it.
Yeah.
I've been using that a lot actually. I reread her book twice during this whole pandemic, because being a small business owner in this environment, I mean, super depressing, like crazy depressing. So I have
Mm.
needed to like immerse myself in therapy and in books and like being around like really good people. And but yeah, I would definitely say Brene Brown and Mel Robbins.
Cool. So what do you do for self-care, to revive and rejuvenate?
I and I have tried so hard this season. When I say season, I mean this pandemic, to meditate, and I am just so bad at it. I mean, I have like 100 browsers like happening like all the same time, and they just keep like clicking and clicking and clicking,
Yeah.
and I just can't snap out of it. I have attempted meditation. I try to work out. I've been doing pretty good, I must say. I was walking or running 2 miles before work.
Yeah, that's a meditation in itself, honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of cooking because to me that's a meditation in itself.
Yeah,
I'm like
Mhm.
focused.
because meditation is mindful meditation is all it is focusing.
Yeah.
Focusing on fewer things than many things. So when you're walking, you're just walking, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes like you're just focusing on your breath because especially if you're doing more intense things. When you're doing food, you're focused because you want the food to taste good, or you don't want to cut yourself when you're
Yeah.
cutting. So there's more focus. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
Um,
No, for sure. And like I've been trying, actually you are the perfect person to talk to you about this. I've been doing guided meditation and there's an app, I think it's called like Timed or something like that. And it's like you can do like 1 minute of guided meditation. That's all I've gotten to so far because I tried, it's like the longest minute of my life, but at least like he guides you through the breathing, so what you're supposed to be thinking. And I'm like, okay, like so I've been trying to do that. But yeah, like as you said, I should probably like not cut myself so short with that because
yeah.
I did during like actual shutdown when everything was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do because there was no business to run. So I was like, okay, I'm really gonna try cooking because I can cook some basic things. I'm not a good baker, but like I can cook some things. But I did not know. I definitely came out a better cook than I have ever been in my life.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome, man.
yeah, like 1 week I did. I decided to do it by country. So 1 week I did Italy and Mexico. The week after I did Greek and Filipino. The week after I did Hawaiian and I think I did Indian and yeah, and then I kept going and going. Yeah. But
It's like
I think
it's
I
like you're
heard
traveling.
Yeah, it's like traveling, even though you're stuck at home.
yeah, that was like my way of like traveling.
I think John Kabat-Zinn, who's like really renowned for like mindfulness meditations. Last time I heard him, he was saying that a lot of like mindfulness was all about transforming our human doing into human being, and so in other words, the things that allow you to be a being, to be, is really, really kind of like the beginning of your own mindfulness. So cooking, if that's what allows you to be, then that would be then the level of awareness, because each ingredient makes up something. And when you sit there and have the opportunity to ponder all of that and to gaze at it, it creates something of its own thing. And so I think we all have it. Actually, in fact, if we don't have that ability to give and to grow, then I think that's where the unhappiness lies. Starts setting in with people, because then we don't have anything to offer, and we don't have anything to kind of like blossom out of.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that cooking sounds like a good thing. It sounds rejuvenating,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that all those things like cooking, walking, they can also, like when it comes to our spirituality, you can see it as prayer as well, And one of the things I find like that I love about our culture, especially when it comes to the dances, is that our dances are usually connected with ritual prayer. So, like when we're playing the gongs, like I mentioned this before, the gongs, you do all the prayer beforehand. Then when you play the gongs carry out that prayer. But when you're playing when you're playing the gongs and when you're dancing, like there's a certain mental focus. So our dancing in itself is it's mindfulness meditation. So like we have these aspects in our culture that that I find quite interesting. They don't call it mindfulness meditation because that's not they don't have that that kind of wording towards it, but it's our spirituality. So it's there. It's in our culture,
Really?
Even like the residents of the gongs, like I've spoken to a lot of like people about it, or people have spoken to me about it. Like I'll post a video on Instagram or whatever of the kids playing the gongs, and then I'll get messages from people from Seattle. It'll be like, oh yeah, man, anytime I hear the sound of the gongs or something, it'll take me back or whatever. And it's like we've spoken about this before, where it's like the sound connects us to our ancestors, like not to sound Pocahontas or whatever, but it is kind of like that, you know what I mean? And
It is like
in
that.
that sense, like
Yes,
that is a
yes.
form of, how one can meditate and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
very it's very
That's true.
it's very woo woo, but at the same time, like it like you can't explain it to people that don't understand it.
Mm,
But for us, like anytime I talk to somebody from Bebop or anywhere else that is Igorot and has experienced this, or
Mhm.
even someone like my brother, who we all grew up here in Canada, but they're like a very young age, we did hear like the gongs and chanting back home.
Yeah.
And like anytime like he'll hear something like that, he'll recognize it, because it's something from not only our childhood, but like in a deeper sense, part of our culture, like part of our DNA in a sense.
Yeah, and it's important to note that, because our gangsa has a functionality to it. Our dancing has a functionality to it, and so like like one of the uncles told me over here, in his context is coming out of Bontok, where he's from, and he was telling me how, like, when people would come back from headhunting trips, of course, the first thing they're gonna play is like a talibang or balangbang, right? So the concept of doing that is not it's not just a victory dance. The people would say, "Oh, it's a victory dance." They came back from headhunting trip and stuff like that. But the idea of it was to put the warrior's mind back into focus, so that it's a way of dealing with PTSD. Because they just came back from a fight. And so one of the ways to handle that is to get into a mode, almost like a hypnotic mode, to kind of like center yourself. And then you do it with your community, and that changes everything, because then everybody's mind kind of like settles on that beat together. And it was a functionality to prevent that young warrior from having PTSD. So and there is like a whole, even though they do like these the old days, they would do these like headhunting things. There was actually cleansing. They have cleansing rituals after it, after these kind of these situations. And then they still did it even when they stopped doing the headhunting, when people would come back from war. Or like even my father-in-law, he was in a situation as a policeman, and they did some ritual cleansing for him, because emotionally it was very hard, because he had to shoot somebody as a cop in the Philippines, and that was hard for him to deal with. And the old people, they did these rituals to try and help him out with that. But yeah, anyways, man, we really shifted there, but it was because we were talking about mindfulness meditation. So like, that's,
Yeah.
Which is I mean, that can be a stigma, like, any kind of form of, therapy in Asian culture.
Well, people are using like Tibetan bowls and stuff now. They're using the frequency for healing.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you think back to our people, it's not like our ancestors didn't recognize that. They obviously recognize that. They use it to carry the prayers out, but they also use it to center everybody in the community.
Yeah.
And this is where I find, like, man, how important these gatherings of Igorots are for the mental health of Igorots, like all over the world, like in the diaspora and in the Philippines. These gatherings and playing together, I find this like, it's key. Like, I think for every community there has to have some form where they do something together, whether it be some form of dance or being on the same drum beat. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's important. And what was cool about in IIC, when you brought your co-workers over, how easy it was for them to vibe with us when we were playing the tongatong.
Yeah.
Like when we were doing that, I was like,
I love that video.
Yeah, so it
Mm,
told me how
mm.
tight your guys are. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, luckily they had some training from a previous Canao from Mia Abeya.
Oh,
So,
right. They also did some of the music when we went to the when we did that church service at the end.
yeah.
And I remember because they were really willing to do it,
Mhm.
and it's something that we put together rather last minute. I mean, what did we do? We just walked in there prepared to do something early in the morning, right? And
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
where we actually literally practiced it with their musicians from that church. And even then, like how we had the proximity because the instrumentation was in one place and the gongs were being played in another place. You really had to rely on the beat
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to make that work, and it did. It really did. That's what made that a powerful experience for the people who were there. Um,
Man, maybe like as a business owner, maybe you know when you have a team of people working under you, maybe that's an important thing to do. You know, like whether they're good or not, you know, get them to play, learn the gongs or
Need
tongatong.
yeah, right,
I
right.
yeah. Yeah, I had some family. You get really close with some families in this business
Mhm,
when
mhm.
they came over to my parents' house, his family. And
Mm.
this guy, this dad was a history teacher, and super into my culture when I explained it to him. And then my dad taught him how to play the gongs. Yeah, so it's just like passing along that knowledge, especially people who are so open to it. I mean, it's a pretty magical thing when that happens. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Not only are they open, but they have like so much respect for the culture as well. And
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's pretty amazing to see when
Yeah, yeah.
um, some people, other Filipinos, let's say, don't even have the same amount of respect. Like, it's kind of interesting. Um, I don't know if you want to segue that into what you wanted to talk to Ito.
Oh, yeah. So speaking about, oh my, I sound like a Tito. Speaking about the Hawaii, speaking of like Hawaii,
Mm.
I don't know if it was you, Amanda, where I was posting about I was just ranting on Instagram because that one chick from Hawaii had that post, and a Kailian from back home contacted her about it, and there's this whole drama and whatnot. And I was basically just like sharing that because I saw a bunch of other people sharing it too on Instagram and on Facebook.
Mm.
And then pretty sure it was you. You commented about it, like how like annoying it was. Because I've gotten like so many comments about it. How not only like how
Can we
ignorant it
tell
was.
people listening or watching what are some context on what
Um,
happened?
yeah, I'm not really good at explaining,
You
but
explained that.
essentially, she did a shoot like the ultimately at the bottom of it, like her intentions were pure in a sense because she wanted to like share, you know, Filipino pride and culture. That being said, though, she wasn't very educated enough in what she was sharing because what she said in her post was that, oh, it's my original culture, and the post was her
Mm.
topless with
Oh.
what's it called, the female garb, and I think it
Like a
was it was from
tapis or something. Or...
Kalinga Tapis.
Oh, kalinga
it,
tapis.
yeah, it looked like a kalinga tapis, and there was an issue of her like giving credit to where it was from and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
The tapis itself was from Ifugao Nation, the weaving company, right? So not only did she not give credit to where credit was due,
Mm.
but she was essentially saying that that's how Ilocanos were traditionally. And
Mhm.
you know, she was giving shout out to like, oh yeah, Ilocano pride, Filipino pride, whatever. But then she got called out by one of our folks from back home, and there was an exchange between them and whatnot, and that's where it kind of blew up. blew
This was in Hawaii.
up even more. Yeah, she's from Hawaii. She's
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 from
an
Hawaii.
influencer from Hawaii.
Oh,
And
okay.
I mean,
How long ago
that's
was this?
You got the
last
posting?
month. Last month.
Yeah,
Last
can you
month.
screenshot the posting and?
I
Last month.
could. Yeah, here it is. Clip.
Oh yeah.
Post editing. Post editing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to, mention her name or whatever. That's as much as I can express it. I mean, we can show the post and whatnot, but yeah. So she was saying that yeah, that's how, like she wasn't acknowledging the Igorot
Where
culture.
it was from? Yeah.
That was my issue, is the fact that like
Mm.
no, she was called out. She didn't, apologize or whatever, but she wasn't, doing that. That's as much context as I can kind of give. But yeah, it's just so funny because like she's from Hawaii. However, like not even 3 years ago, we had, a cultural event in Hawaii. And it kind of sucks because like as much as we try to have these organizations, it's not enough compared to other forms of mediums where they can just go out and put something on and say it's Filipino, and then they get like, they get applauses for it. Whereas for us, where we've been historically marginalized, and until now, it's like we're being overlooked and whatnot. And that was kind of the issue that I had, was the fact that, it was overlooking like the actual context of what she was wearing and whatnot. It's really crappy. So yeah, tying it back to like event in Hawaii, like it's to me it's kind of unfair that, like, I mean, it makes sense that only us Igorots would know about IIC and whatnot, and how what we do, like we see that our own community, but the fact that like from the outside, or even within the larger Filipino community, we're hardly seen or mentioned at all. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Right.
that
Man.
was my thing.
It'd
And
be
we were just in
interesting to
Hawaii,
see.
like, you know what I mean? Like, so weird.
Yeah.
There's
you
like
see-
so many Igorots in Hawaii. Why did how I don't know, it's just so weird, like how it would slip through the cracks, like this sort of like ignorance, where there's a huge Filipino community in Hawaii, huge Ilocano community, right? And Ilocanos are quite close to people from the Cordilleras, so there is that sense of kinship there. However, like there's still this ignorance towards it, you know what I mean? And like I've mentioned it before in our podcast, where like some of my friends that are Ilocano, they'd be like, oh, maybe I'm Igorot too. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's like, there's a clear difference. And like the whole indigeneity aspect to like Filipinos, it's still being muddled, like in the general Filipino mindset. Like I've had conversations where they'll talk about like, oh, you know, uh, at the end of the day, like we were indigenous at one point, everyone, and then it's really cool now that there's this movement where the indigeneity identity has been more emphasized. But for other people, like
and clarified.
And clarified, yeah. Because for other people, it's like, oh no, we're Filipino. We're, back in the day, maybe like several generations ago, we were indigenous, which is fair. But there's a thriving indigenous population that's still indigenous and haven't been colonized compared to the larger population. And like it's kind of crappy that that's not common knowledge. You know what I mean?
And I think, yeah, I hear you. Part of that is being able to, I mean, part of it is, of course, our responsibility to share that story. But the other thing is those who are sharing the wider narratives, there really has to be a deeper dive into stuff. I mean, I don't know if y'all watch Falcon Winter Soldier, but they went into this whole thing about like African American Captain America.
Right.
And
I did not expect that, to be honest, and that was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That
for
was
them to
incredible,
open that narrative up, and it's an ugly narrative too, because of what happens to Isaiah. and
Isaiah is the first Black Captain America. So
yeah, yeah.
for all you
Spoilers,
viewers out there.
guys. Spoilers.
Sorry,
I was gonna
spoiler.
say.
Spoiler alert!
Sorry.
Spoiler alert!
But just for them to share that kind of narrative, that becomes part of kind of like comic book lore, but also when we look at like, and so the meaning of a Black Captain America who wears the stars and stripes, who holds the tension of the reality of racism and discrimination, and has even like I mean, and all the things that even they showed in there, like they couldn't even get a loan. Hey, I'm Falcon, Black Falcon, but he couldn't get a
He
loan.
got stopped in the streets.
Yeah, I got stopped in the streets, and that's a reality for folks. I think eh, when we put it into our context, like within Igorot's, within the Filipino context, we're definitely that minority where, and then the narratives that are shared about us, whatever it might be, um part of it is that the the wider community also bears a responsibility to open up those narratives, because
Mhm.
I mean, Marvel didn't have to do that. They could have just
No.
left Captain America pretty darn Steve Rogers, blonde hair, blue dyed, and and but they chose to push that. That's a conscious thing by people who are up there in Feige and Disney and all those people, looking at like, okay, I think it's time, oh, we need to open up this kind of narrative. Well, the same thing within our communities too,
Mhm.
Filipino communities. Part of it is that if they don't know who we are, then they have no other place to share a different narrative. It's going to be whatever they heard from their grandparents. Those people still have
Mhm.
tails, right?
Mhm.
I mean, still have tails. Jeez. And those
Yeah.
people aren't they supposed to be as dark and short like negritos and all that kind of weird stuff? And there's all kinds of wacky story that comes with people who come from the mountains. That is not very known. Um, and
There's that whole concept of like, like with second generation folks, especially
mm, mm,
people Filipinos born in the diaspora.
mm,
There is that not knowing and that kind of general sense of pan Filipino-ness, where like
Yeah.
right.
you kind of like just see all of us as just one, which is, yeah, I get that, but you know, I I don't know, man. I don't know what most people wouldn't know about the story of many of the indigenous people and the struggle they've had to deal with amongst their own people,
Right.
amongst their own fellow
Yeah.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
this is a problem. Yeah, and so like then they'll come out and say like wear like an Ifuga tapis or a Kalinga tapis or wanus or something like that, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, or bag, and then they'll be like, yeah, this is what we wore before. This is what we're not realizing. Yeah, maybe, but those aren't your colors, man. Those belong to a
Mhm.
certain. Uh, people have pride in that like this, or this, they have pride in these patterns, that represent them and the struggles that they've had to go through, uh so those things have to be honored if you're going to be wearing that. Like you can wear it. I mean,
Right.
this kind of goes into that, Amanda, this goes starts to trend into the waters of your pop culture workshop. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
100%.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
those people who don't know, in the IIC, Amanda ran a workshop on it was kind of a mix between Filipino culture and Igorot culture in pop culture, like mainstream pop
Mhm.
culture. So like people
Mhm.
like wearing our clothes and stuff like that, and either knowing or not knowing, like there's this whole thing, and there's concepts of cultural appropriation, like
Yeah, that was a really interesting case study.
It was
Have you thought about like expanding that more?
That's a great idea. I thought I've had a few projects in mind that I want to do in my lifetime, with our culture,
Mhm.
but I haven't truthfully kept up with it ever since the IIC ended.
'Cause life happened.
Yeah, life happens.
You got a
but
business to run.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like I will say, while I was researching it, I mean, so fascinating. Like because it's almost like we're hidden in a few things.
Hmm.
Um, I know, even in Marvel, you know, since we're on this topic, like
Yeah.
with oh my gosh, I see him in my head, and I
Shang-Chi.
bad guy,
Black Panther.
Endgame, and in Black Panther, yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, Thanos.
Oh yeah.
Thanos, yeah,
Thanos being in the Philippines.
and that in the Philippines,
But
and
now we
All
rice
right,
theirs.
right.
I was with my nieces, and I was like, "That's where your mom's from!" Like in the movie theater, like you know,
Hmm.
5 seconds, but you know, it was really cool. Yeah, now you rice terraces, and then yeah, as you said, in Black Panther, the warriors, the women warriors, wearing you know, the in like a resemblance of the Kalinga tapis, I believe, right?
They
On
were
their,
influenced by the betel nut red colors.
right.
Yeah, because the designer was a Filipino dude, I think.
Hmm.
Or one of the
Yeah.
designers was a Filipino guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top of that too, like there were I don't know if you've heard of Commonwealth. They're like sneaker has
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but
The,
did you
the
know,
Igorot sneakers.
yeah, these are the
Oh,
cultura
right.
Igorot sneakers. Yeah, as soon as there happens to be a Commonwealth in DC, and I immediately went and snagged a pair. Yeah, and that was a paid homage to Wang Od and the
Mm.
tattoos, and yeah, so it's funny, like we have little Easter eggs in a lot of different places.
Easter
but
eggs. That's a good term.
yeah, yeah, but not fully out there yet.
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the recognition isn't towards specifically towards Igorot folks. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But I think it seems like there's quite the fine line between paying homage to and appropriation. So
That's a very fine line. That is for sure. I mean, yeah, even when we were trying to do the tattoos in IIC, that was a big deal. That became very,
Yeah.
yeah,
very,
well, exactly.
which,
You know, so I did kind of wanna, because we mentioned it earlier in our pre-meeting, but like just the challenges in terms of like, because like you've seen what's been going on, even in the UK, this is happening, but like violence towards and racism towards Asian and Pacific Islander folks,
yeah,
particularly towards females and elderly.
Elderly. Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. Like, but because of the whole coronavirus thing, like people just, I don't know, the mental health is not stable right now as people, and so that's especially you being a female, but also being a business owner. Have you experienced anything kind of odd in terms of like?
yeah. So in terms of my surroundings, and I'll get to my personal experience, which is weird, but
Mm.
there's it's so interesting. We are in such a liberal, diverse, extremely diverse city, Silver Spring. I mean, my team, as you saw my team, that's an example of what the city is like. Extremely
Yeah.
diverse. We had like a kung fu tea, like a bubble tea place, and like a banchan place, and our
Oh wow.
the city right next to us got vandalized.
Oh really?
It was just the
Wow.
Asian businesses. And then yeah, when
Wow.
this was all happening, I was freaked out, man. Like
Wow.
I took my dad. There's a rural place in Maryland, and they just so happened to have a vaccine
Mhm.
available for him, so we took it. But I felt strange, I didn't want him to go there alone, so like I got out of work early and took him both times to make sure he was okay,
Yeah.
and make sure there wasn't a reaction. But um, me personally, and this was kind of like a strange one. I had, so we teach classes, they're about an hour long. The specific class had kids ages 3 and 4 in it. I had 2 instructors who were in there. I had this one mom bring in her daughter,
Of
African
course.
American, and
Mm.
it just so happened out of my extremely diverse team, it happened to be 2 white instructors. And
Mm.
which should not even matter. But she didn't say anything while she was there. Did the whole class. I got an email saying that the 3 and 4-year-old kids were racist against her daughter because she is Black, and the instructors who are white also they were ignoring her because of her color. And I mean, this is like, again, like extremely
okay.
yeah, I don't even know where to put this in this whole hate thing, but anyway, so I gave her my best, like, like business owner hat, like, let's talk to you more about it. Let's find the right program. Why don't we do a one-on-one session? Um, I just say, like I'm Filipino, and I told her who I am and stuff. And but by the way, when she had emailed me the first time, she also copied um, ACLU, disabilityfeedback.org, small business, whatever, attached all these organizations.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
okay. So, I mean, like, I also copy them on my response, which is very, explaining everything.
Yeah.
And she did tell me, like, one of the major things I remember from the email was saying the 3 and 4-year-olds are racist against her daughter. Luckily, we have cameras at our gym, and I watched the whole class, and I asked, and she said they were not playing with her daughter, and I was like, well, we actually don't encourage playtime with each other right now because it's COVID, so we actually want kids to kind of stay far away from each other. So I was explaining little things like that, and then she emailed me saying that as I sit there in my white skin responding to her, and
Your white skin?
my white skin, after I had just told her that I'm not, that I'm Filipino, that I was not apologetic to her. I wasn't empathizing with her. I basically just didn't give her what she wanted to hear, which was, and I'm sorry, and please take our program for free, is what she really wanted. So then I reached out to corporate to help me curate a response. And they told me one line that I actually regret kind of saying. I did want to acknowledge, like, hey, I'm not white. I'm American. And while we have different experiences, I do know what it's like to feel different. And that's the honest truth. Like I am in my corporate world, like I am a very small minority of a business owner who is not white in the little gym world. But anyway, so they helped me curate a response, and they got rid of my sentence, which was like, I'm not white, I'm Asian American. They changed it to as a person of brown skin color. So okay, like I did that, whatever.
Okay.
And nothing wrong with that, because I mean I am brown.
Yes.
And so she responded back to me saying she's going to tell everyone to shut that my business sucks and to never go here to this racist facility. And then she took my profile picture, which is from Facebook, which is I'm on private profile, but my profile picture is not, I guess, which is of me and my mom in our Igorot, garb. And she said, and by the way, this is not brown. And then done. And then so I just didn't respond.
So we're not like oppressed enough for her. That's essentially, she's just playing Oppression Olympics.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
So she had already, she had a few people, or actually not people, just one person write a bad Google review, and then another person wrote.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough place.
Apparently, the thing to do though is like, because I talked to corporate about it, of course, and they said the best thing to do is to leave it alone because all my other reviews are really good, so like I was looking at it. That was really tough. I mean, this was in the middle of the pandemic. So I feel like the business is already suffering, and so while it's not your typical thing of what's going on, it was fueled with hatred, and like it did suck.
Right.
And from another person of color too.
Yeah. So
right.
I want to be like, hey, same team, but there isn't clearly.
So there's a view of Asian people, unfortunately, that goes around that we are the most complicit. That model minority thing is the myth of that is really
some bullshit.
Yeah, that's some BS, and it really does hurt us in terms of like confronting our deeper truths. 'Cause
For one,
then
it clumps us all together, like all our experiences together as Asian people. Like we use that term as a political term to kind of like create like like critical mass, right? So we can, but at the same time, it's used against us because then when it comes to like Filipino experience, Chinese experience, Japanese, Korean, American experience, like all these different Asian experiences, Hmong, Vietnamese, Thai, Laotian, like people don't get that we're not all the
no,
same.
no, they think we're
I'm like,
crazy rich Asians, like driving in that Bugatti
Right.
Veyron,
Rice is
having
rice.
weddings with water flowing from the aisle and all that nonsense, man.
Yeah.
Really, come on, man. Uh, come on. I mean,
Rice is rice, though.
yeah.
rice is rice. That's right.
Rice
Rice
is
is
Good old
rice.
Jokoi.
Oh man.
So that's what you've corporate has basically told you to just kind of like you said your piece and then just leave it alone.
Yeah, because at that point, I mean, like, she already knows where my business is, right? She knows where I work. She
Mhm.
got my picture from Facebook, which is like, that to me just felt so threatening. It was so crazy. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to engage because the more you engage,
But sometimes there are people out there who are like vexatious litigants too. I mean, they looking for the fight because they think they could get freebies from it too.
Yeah. It's basically like when people put their hair in food and they want their meal for free.
Yeah.
People do that. It's kind of weird people. So
Yeah, it wasn't super unfortunate. I totally, while vandalism was happening, like to the other Asian small businesses, I was waiting for it. I mean, I was daydreaming of like, okay, like I need to prepare myself if there's some graffiti on the storefront and I need to just be okay with it. Like I need to just, clean it and be okay with it. Or if the glass shatters or whatever, like just already mentally preparing yourself for come your way. I was not prepared for that though. I was totally like blindsided by that. But
yeah, it's a challenging one, man, because like like this especially now with all the what I've observed from all this anti-Asian like hate and stuff like that, the racism, and what I've observed is that people just I don't know. They don't see us as it's almost like they don't see. I mean, who beats up elderly people, man? I mean, like you either have mental condition or it's just like you really don't see this person as a human being.
yeah.
You see them as something like non-existent.
Less than.
Yeah, or less than. And in general, Asian population has been ignored. We're considered like they just stay in the corner kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're all smarty nerds. They're gonna go to Harvard.
They're already good. Yeah, like
they're already privileged already. Look at that.
Not dark enough.
Not dark enough. Yeah, it could be that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't count. We don't.
They didn't count you as brown, man. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah. No, that really. I asked some of my like team members. I was like, I am brown, right? Like makes me feel a little crazy for a day. But, yeah.
It depends where you are, because we're not necessarily brown, even though we call ourselves, because there's a lot of let's say Southeast Asian. There's a big Southeast Asian community here, and they're brown.
Yeah.
So we don't call ourselves brown like you do.
Browner.
We're not as brown.
We're not as brown.
The crayon set that I have has 100
different browns.
162 shades.
Yeah. Give me like 3 hours
Exactly.
in the sun, and I'll be close. Yeah.
I know. The more sun we get,
Yeah.
can adjust that tone really easy. Yeah, really easy.
So with these things like the Asian hate or whatever, I'm wondering if this was just always happening, and it just wasn't recorded and publicized like it is now, or has it become like a challenge? Because I've heard of stuff like that, and then people recording that, and because of social media, or people's mental health are just down the tubes because of all the lockdown and stuff. So
Yes,
think it's
yes,
always happened.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's just that we're paying attention to it now, because there's more people are more locked down, so then you can actually pay attention to it. And it's being reported. I don't think that Asian people typically report stuff because, oh, we don't want to get the police involved, or don't let other people know, because sometimes there's a self-hatred too. There's an internalized oppression that reminds us that, maybe it's our fault for them, wanting to punk on us. Oh, we are gentrifying their neighborhoods, and
And
sometimes there's
there's
that.
there's also been a huge uptick since COVID, right?
Yeah.
Towards especially Asians.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I remember even flying back from Mexico in late January when everything wasn't, everything didn't explode yet, but I was flying back and like hearing the news about the first case of COVID, or back then the novel coronavirus in Vancouver. I heard about that while we were flying back, and then I just remembered like being on the plane, and I'd see like Chinese families with masks on, and like I can only just imagine, the sort of discrimination at that time that they might have felt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later, like I know for sure, like I don't want to like project or anything like that, but I know for sure like a lot of them have faced, especially Chinese
Yeah.
folks.
Well, heck, my mom, when she was walking by the park back in April, March or April, that's
Yeah.
one of the first things she experienced. She's walking down like
Mm,
Cayuga
That was
Park.
last year, though, right?
That was
jeez.
last year.
Yeah, last year.
And doing her normal walk, and someone was yelling at her, "Hey, get away from me, China virus!" And I'm like, "Oh man!"
Oh
And,
jeez.
and
Yeah, even yeah,
And this is
I
San
even
Francisco
remember.
diversity area, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I just saw like another San Francisco. Something happened in
Mm.
San Francisco.
Majority of these cases are happening in New York or San Francisco.
Diverse and liberal
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, diverse liberal areas, but this is where the majority of these kind of like violent episodes are happening.
Mhm.
Is in California and New York. So
that are now being reported on.
yeah,
Right.
they're being
Oh,
reported on now.
that's
That
right. That's
that
right.
now we know of.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Right, right. Uh, and
But also,
and
since
it's
people are talking about it, media's talking about it, it's hey, it's an Asian guy. Let's do something.
yeah,
People are sheep as well, too. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is that one. I think it was a father, and he in San Diego, and he had
Oh,
his
the
little
military guy.
in a stroller, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then yeah, this guy just ran and just like started beating his face. And then like in the article, it said that the kid was just kind of strolling away, like little by little. And I guess police luckily happened to be there or be near or something, and they caught the guy. And it's interesting you say that, because it's like apparently that guy didn't say anything. There was no words exchanged.
Mhm.
They just said he was mentally crazy and had a history of doing this in the past, like just randomly targeting people. But then the article did read like Asian hate crime, like
Hmm.
Mhm.
gear it towards that. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mm.
so, I don't know. It's all awful, right? At the end of the day, it's all completely awful. But then it's
Yeah,
like,
right,
we also
right.
don't want to be, and while there are some very real stories that are happening that are Asian, like hatred filled, there are
Yeah.
also these ones that it's like, okay, like the media, I don't know. Like, man, I've had such a love hate relationship with media. Like, I mean, man, it is hard to be American sometimes, but
Yeah, for real,
it's,
for
yeah,
real.
it's like, you read, my brother-in-law had a good point. Like, you just read like two opposing articles and then just figure out like, okay, the truth is in there, like in the middle somehow. Like, it's just so hard to know these days. But the
Yeah.
headline says something very drastically different than what the article actually says. But then we also don't really know the truth. Like, other than, yeah, he was clearly beaten up and it was a really scary and terrible situation. But yeah.
What's the other wacky thing is, like, how many times have we seen already these kind of episodes where just people are hanging out, like taking video with their cell phone, but not really actually intervening?
Yeah.
And maybe
Mhm.
people don't feel confident to intervene. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe we need to walk around with tasers and pepper
I'm
spray.
actually, for
I don't
me,
know.
I'm a big proponent. I'm
Concealed carry.
for. No, well, I'm not saying that. I'm for like learning to protect yourself. You know what I mean? Like taking self-defense classes,
Right.
and
Right.
the way I see it right now, like I think these things are just escalating, or just being
They're just
reported
being
more.
reported now.
But I think they
Yeah.
are escalating. I feel like they
Mm.
are. And so like we have to also take responsibility to learn how to protect ourselves and our communities. I mean, like, I kind of flip out because I'm over here in the UK and I think about my parents. I know Jay is there, but then my parents go out on their own. And we already had that one incident where someone was like talking to my mom, "Hey, China virus," and all this stuff. And it's kind of like, oh man, I'm kind of worried about my parents, But
Yeah, and they've taken their own precautions too.
yeah.
But I mean, they've had incidents where some dude walks into the garage and my dad has
Oh
to kind of
my
like
god, that thing is
yell the
yeah.
crowd of him and gently escort him out. But
Oh my
my dad's older now. He would
Yeah.
that be an easy thing for him to do now?
No.
And so just wonder about that kind of stuff. Um, and just hope that doesn't it we could get better at that. But the biggest concern to me is hey, there's a whole lot of bystanders out there just being bystanders instead
Mhm.
of like active participants. Like don't put that stuff on TikTok, man. If we can do something, um
Why is it on TikTok?
I
I don't
think
know,
you
I
picked
just
the
thought
wrong
about that.
platform.
Or whatever,
World Star is it?
World Star, whatever, just
Oh, it's on
really.
TikTok too.
They
Yeah,
do it on
see?
TikTok.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah, like don't
That's pretty
put
bad.
you like really gonna post it on your social media, but you're not gonna do anything. Like call dang 911.
Yes, because
Maybe
that's what's more important nowadays.
right.
Mhm.
Actually, I had another buddy. He went to a restaurant to pick up food, and was verbally assaulted by somebody. And the owner, another Asian American owner, I guess immigrant, they didn't want trouble, right? So they said, "Don't call the police." They're telling all the people around, "Don't call the police," because
Yeah.
it, I guess, would cause them trouble or whatever.
Mhm.
But the guy was like being very belligerent and whatever. Uh, the wacky part is that when the people were trying to call 911, they didn't know the address. They just kind of like knew where it was because 911 on the cell phone doesn't register to an address. It just goes,
Yeah, because it's a cell phone, right? Yeah.
yeah, because it's a cell phone. So, uh, so in other words, the response time, even if you did call 911, would take a long time still. They're
Yeah.
not going to come. So that means that someone has to be there, to either help intervene and all that. So, I think we're definitely looking at an issue of like just the like overall well-being of our society. I think there's it's definitely something that we need to look at, but also for the safety of people too. If people aren't going to respond, then people are going to continue to have agents feel like they have agency to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. If we ignore it as a community, it's
Right, right.
man.
Yeah.
So any other incidents happen at your workplace or anything like that? Like just
No, not with that. Although I did get pepper spray right after that
oh,
incident,
just in case.
just in case. And then I also got
Mm.
one for my parents too. But
Get him a stun gun.
I think they'd have
Taser.
Taser. Sorry,
Yeah.
taser.
Yeah, taser, because the taser will give you 15 feet. Pop.
Yeah.
Stun gun, you have to be close. Taser, you could aim 15 feet and
I think I looked up a taser on Amazon and it wasn't allowed. Like here, I don't think I was allowed to get it here at
you
this
have to go
address.
to a local firearms store, and I don't know if
So,
it's legal. Like in DC, there probably is
Probably
none.
not legal.
In
Yeah.
any liberal area, there's not going to be no
yeah.
firearm store. You have to go. You gotta go to Virginia. I'm sure it'll have it.
You gotta walk around with your own bow and arrow. Maybe that's legal. I don't know.
Bolo.
Bolo.
Yeah, bolo.
Yeah, bolo.
Bring your own machete, old school style, man. Yeah, I'm just going
Yeah.
gardening, man.
I
I'm
know.
just
Right?
going to chop off the branches.
I used to carry a bolo in my car. I don't know why. I just did.
Oh wow.
Because that's the way, Amanda.
Right? In my seat, and my friend who worked for the FBI, probably, we were going to like a show at the Kennedy Center, and we took my car, and I was like, and the funny thing is, she knew this about me in high school, and she was like, so whatever knives you have in your car, Amanda, you're gonna have to take it out for use in your car, because you had to park it in the FBI. Park my car in the FBI, what is it, the parking garage. But it was so funny. I was like, oh shit. Like,
I have my bolo in my car. Yeah.
in my car. Like,
Yes.
My dad carries two. He has two in his car, you know.
really?
Yeah, he has two. You know.
Yeah.
But it's for utility.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, you never know when you're gonna have to like chop down like a tree.
Yeah. You might need to make a fire.
Right?
Need some kindling.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's just one of many stories that's kind of coming out with like misunderstanding of just Asian people in general. And then like it's more challenging knowing because you're a person of Igorot descent, and like you know your family would know that struggle of as a person of color, and then it's just like there's a lot of this dissension between like people of color just kind of like fighting amongst each other because you know obviously the people who most of these elderlies who've been beat up, a lot of them are from they've been beat up by people of color.
Yeah.
No, and that part is really sad to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
bottom line is, you know, we just got to still be vigilant. I think that the whole idea of like being able to defend oneself is very true. To have some spatial awareness of where we go. Look out for those who are a little bit more, who are more vulnerable. But really, you got to trust your instinct, especially when you're in a place, because you notice those videos with people like the one in New York with the lady, you know, the old Filipino lady who was going to church and then she got jumped by that like 300-pound dude, and no one does anything. Right?
The security guards just close the door.
Yeah, like, ooh, I'm not messing with that fool, you know, because everyone knows who that fool is. You know, it's not like that guy.
Even
just
though
somewhere.
they're like the same size as him.
They know who that fool was. They just know that dude's crazy. They don't want to mess with him. So, you know, yeah, but that's pitiful. The fact that they know, they would likely have known, you know, where that, you know, about that dude, and have nothing done about that, you know, and the fact that actually didn't that guy like try to kill his mom or killed his mom?
Yeah, he was and they got.
Mom.
He did. Yeah.
He had gotten out of jail, I think.
Yeah, he just got out of jail.
Yeah, he had just gotten out of jail.
Yeah. Like, sheesh. Yeah, that already tells you that guy shouldn't have been released.
Yeah. But you know that is interesting that you mentioned like how many of it, like what's being reported on the news. How much of it is just they're taglining the Asian part, you know?
Yeah.
Like was especially with the guys who have the mental health issues. Actually, to be a racist, you got to have mental health issues. So, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But you know, then there's that other incident where the lady in San Francisco who the you know 80-year-old lady gets jumped and then she beats up the dude anyway, and
that was awesome.
To the hospital.
Yeah.
You know,
with a freaking 4x4.
Yeah, she was fighting.
Put her in the hospital. You know,
deserve it.
And that was some pretty badass. And then she got like I think people donated over almost close to $50,000.
Yeah.
I think it ended up being close to $1 million.
Really?
Holy
I remember
crap.
it being $50,000.
That's a
But
lot. That's
if
a
it's
big
more
chunk,
than
bro.
that, yeah,
Wow.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
actually, she gave it away.
Yeah, she
Yeah, she gave it
donated
away.
it.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
noticed that every time there's a GoFundMe attached, they usually give it away.
I think that's dope. I
Or
think
the
that's really good.
Yeah.
It's totally dope. Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
it's interesting because this whole thing with Asian hate against Asian people, like the history, especially in California, where there was a lot of Asian people because of the farms and
San
everything.
Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco, the Central Valley, San Francisco, that Hawaii, like all these Asian people going over there, to farm, and there was so much Asian hate, amongst Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, Filipinos. There was so much racism at that time. And then you wonder, like, how the hell did it come from that to the model minority myth? And my brother and I are part of this discussion group called Sacred Ground, and one of the things that we covered was the model minority myth. And when they looked at history, it was like, apparently, like, especially, was it post World War II, right, Jay? It was post World War II. The whole concept of, like, like, Asian hate, the media changed it to basically say that, hey, it was kind of an excuse to be racist to other cultures by picking one other ethnic group and say, look at these people, they're docile and they're quiet. Why can't you be like them? And so the media kind of changed, it turned around from, like,
Yeah, because pre-World War II, it was all like yellow peril and look at all,
these
and
people
look
taking
at
your
all
jobs
these,
and shit like that.
they're taking your women and all of that, and they're, yeah, it was pretty bad. But after World War II, and you could see all the literature changing. Like, oh, look at these nice people. Well, they're better than those people, and that's the birth of the model minority myth. And of course, there was a little bit of complicity amongst Asian Americans who kind of like think, hey, you know what, I'll buy into that. Um, so it's some layered stuff in there.
Yeah, shitload of layers, man. I mean, even
Mm.
for Filipinos who were colonized by Americans, you know what I mean? Like, there are layers of like, I don't know, maybe, like, you talking about self-hate for some folks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when they,
Yeah.
especially that I saw it more in the 80s amongst Filipinos, when there was less of a critical mass of Filipinos within our community. There was a lot of people who'd rather be, because they didn't have a group of Filipinos to hang out with, so they'd hang out with the Mexicans. So there'll be more Mexican, or they hang out with the black folks, be more black, or they hang out with the white folks, be more white, and they wouldn't know much about their own culture.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, like, and then when they finally started to learn, it went one way or the other. They either took pride in it, or they're like, hell no, I'm not learning that fucking jungle stuff. Yeah, it's messed up, man. You're right about layers and layers, man.
Well, until it becomes cool, because now, like, being indigenous is cool.
That's
Like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, between fashion, between history, now it's just, being oppressed. Now it's a cool thing. So socially, but whatever. If we're out there, then we're getting out there somehow, I suppose. But yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. It's like that horse you get to ride. You know what I'm saying? Even though it might be considered negative, at the same time, it's like, golly, okay, at least you got some publicity.
Yeah, right. Nodding along. Yeah.
Yeah, like, how you gonna share your story? Sometimes the source of that gets you there isn't always gonna be like the most positive source.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, that makes me think
It's
of
just the reality. I don't necessarily like it that way, but Sorry, you were gonna say?
My great grandfather was in the 1904 World's Fair,
Oh yeah, that's right.
They're
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that.
very, yeah, granted, they were looked at as savages.
Mm.
Come see the savages. From far away, East Asia and the land called the Philippines, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then it's funny how it's like how evolved it became over time. My mom did. I don't know if I saw it. PBS reached out to my mom a few years ago, I think, and asked if they can do a story on her and her grandfather. And I mean, it was really cool. They actually interviewed all of us. It was really interesting being on like the TV side of that kind of stuff, like a docu series.
Right, right.
It's funny. It was a whole day of filming, and I think my mom was in it for a few minutes, just a few minutes. But I mean, that is going back to what you were saying. Like, yeah,
That's right. She got that whole. Well, she got in the interview, and they talked about your great grandfather, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, your
yeah,
great
my
grandfather.
great grandfather. Yeah, so but before that, there was an artist who reached out to my mom with my great grandfather, Ontero, and she did a whole thing called "A Living Man Declared Dead," and it was a linealogy of like Geronimo's relatives, and then my great grandfather and his relatives. So this woman went all around the world to get our photographs with a wall like this, just like sitting, and like the linealogy of a dead man. That was really interesting. I don't.
It is interesting.
So interesting. But yeah, no, it brings me back to what you were saying. Like, yeah, it's just interesting how it's not maybe the way how we want to come out, especially in an affair like that. But
That's our fucking legacy, man.
yeah,
Because we had a relative that also went with your great grandfather. They went at the same time, and that's our legacy, man. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was interesting that we were able to kind of like go back there. What was it, 2004?
2004, yeah, because it was the centennial from 1904 for the IIC. Yeah.
I wasn't at that one, but my wife was.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And just to kind of go back there and just, God, we should do that as a.
Yeah.
We should all go back there again and just like do some filming there. Gerald, what do you think?
I'd love to.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
like
could
a trip.
travel anywhere.
All right.
There's a few
fun.
trips that we've already talked about. Like we've talked about going as a group to talk to some of the gangsta makers and kind of learn a little bit about the craft. So that's that's one of our
love that.
ideas as a group. And then the other one is right now go back to St. Louis again.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, Gerald, you guys can do so much with that, like taking the shots, from back then to what it is now.
Yeah.
So during that time, they gave my mom a key to the city, and they did an apology.
A what? An apology.
Apology, a city.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because the way how that all came about, to even finding out about my mom, was there was a school called, I think, way down middle school.
That's the one with the team called the Igorots.
Yeah, their mascot was the Igorot.
Yeah.
And then I don't know at the time, like maybe.
Did the mascot look cool?
Yeah, it sucks because I can't find anything about it on Google. It's hard for me to find.
I have seen it before. I've seen it
before too. I've seen it before too.
But I can't remember if it's. I'm just wondering if the mascot, didn't. Look interesting.
No, I think it looked kitschy, like the Chiefs or something like that.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
You mean like Chief Wahoo from the old Indian symbol? That one?
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe.
It was Y down middle school.
Y down. How do you spell it?
Yeah, we talked about it actually in one of our podcasts.
Yeah, right? But I couldn't find anything about it at that time.
I have a PDF of of an article that was made, and they talked about when the IIC happened. It was like a local local article about the Igorot folks coming back, and a lot of the kids who were at that school didn't even know what an Igorotes was, an Igorot, because it was spelled
Oh yeah.
double T,
Yeah.
Igorote or something.
Right,
Igorot.
right.
What is an Igorot?
And that's how the question,
Yeah.
just one question, like that's how. Because
Wow.
my parents and then joined in with the LA youth at the time,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Because Arnold was there, I think.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's a whole, production about it. But it was cool. It's Y down, WY.
WY down, right?
Oh yeah,
Middle school.
Y down. Yeah.
It looks like they took off the Igorot stuff.
They
Yeah,
did.
they changed it, right? They did.
Yeah, out of
Yeah,
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it's gone. I don't see any kids wearing Igorot t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then so how did it how did it come about? So from the PBS production and the artist, how did that all start exactly?
I think a lot of it had to do with the fair because I know Geronimo and our great grandfathers were there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
With Taryn, she's the artist who took our pictures. I don't know. She just did a lot of research, I guess, and just I don't know
Wow.
if it had to do with the fair. And then PBS, they also just Googled my mom, or they Googled like, I mean, the whole point of it was an Asian American docuseries on like the progression of Asian Americans in our country and how they got here. And then my mom's part was pretty early on in the first episode. And that's where it all like started. But I don't know how they contacted her. I know if you like, I think I'm pretty sure it started with the whole Y down thing because once you go there, then it opens up a whole, like portal to my mom's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really interesting.
It is.
Yeah, and then he got
Yeah.
he was learning English at the time, and he knew a little bit about it. So when President Roosevelt came to go around the fair, he was his translator. So he got to like do that, and then somehow,
Really?
he got to go to the White House, and
Wow.
yeah, it's really interesting. There's an article about him on that too. And he would say I think he did like "My Country 'Tis of Thee" or something. He was so proud to like recite it in the White House, and then they applauded him. And his biggest thing is that he said thank you." After it was all done. But yeah, and it is really interesting I mean, the stories that I heard about our grandfathers like being shipped over and their families and then on trains, some of them not making it and then having to be in that horrible cold, because there lasted, a while. And then just seeing what they would do when it gets really cold. That, it's just
I was messed up, man.
yeah, terrible. Yeah, but then there's like the stories that you hear and the legacy that's from it too, which
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like you take both, but yeah, it's just crazy how it all happens and how it did happen.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting point. My dad's nickname back at home, they call him Antero as well. They call him Antero because like, your great grandfather was famous for, being the traveler that went out. And my dad was one of the first early few guys who came out and joined the US Navy from his area.
Oh, wow.
And they called him Antero because he left.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what people do. It's like they just it's Igor culture. Like they just like they'll name you after someone who's kind of legendary amongst the people, and so you get that nickname.
That's odd. That's so funny. Wow, I had no idea.
But we did have a relative that also went too. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, like, and then there were Igorots who went to Spain as well. And then there was like there was a Chicago exposition.
Seattle.
Yeah, there was the Seattle one. Yeah, there's like quite a few places, man.
Mhm.
How we were like, you just wonder what happened to some of them, because some of them they didn't even pay for a ticket back home. Like when they disbanded the whole thing and the president said this was illegal to do. I wonder what happened to some of those folks if they just integrated with and just settled down wherever they were at. You know, and
So
those
it
ants.
looks like
Oh,
it
sorry,
looks
go.
like Y Down Middle School. They are now the wild. They went from the Igorots to the wild Y Down Wildcats. I think that happened in 2016.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you think about like the Washington Redskins, right? I mean, they're no longer the Washington
football team?
Redskins. They're just the Washington football team. I think they're gonna stay like that for a couple more years.
Yeah, I have a feeling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's your team, huh? So, man, what if they were the Washington Igorots? That would have been interesting.
Oh man.
NFL team named after Igorots.
So funny.
Yeah, life
It would have
is.
brought some attention.
For sure.
That's true. We would have been. Known. The narrative would have been a little bit different,
Mhm.
right? It's always about that freaking narrative in the mainstream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like we've talked about this before, or I've mentioned it before in
Mhm.
one of our other podcasts. Like, how do you feel about when other Filipinos bring up the World's Fair? Have you seen any of those posts, Mia?
What's the latest?
Like, I don't want to like. So in one of our older podcasts, we talked about people sharing the black and white photos and whatnot.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
iCat brought this up. You know them. They brought up how they're showing like black and white photos of the World's Fair, but they're not talking about it in the exact context, similar to how I was ranting about earlier.
Yeah.
Like they're not mentioning, yeah,
Mm, mm,
they're not
mm.
mentioning Igorots.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mixed. There is one thread that I saw that I know exactly which one you're talking about. My
Mm.
mom chimed in for that one.
Mm.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So at that point, I was like, all right, I'll just just eat my popcorn.
Let your mom do the work.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much the best one. So I was like, all right, cool. Her way of doing that was almost recaptioning what the picture actually was, but going through every comment and doing it too.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah. Yeah.
It's
Mixed feelings on it.
it's tough because there's I guess for most of us who do know more than others, then there's almost a responsibility to educate folks, you know, but try to educate them in a way where it's like you're not just trying to shit on them. You know what I'm
True.
saying?
Yeah, it's a very delicate now.
Yeah.
It can be, because
Yeah,
then otherwise, if you get really pissed off at him. This is just me, because like when I was younger, I would probably rail on somebody. You know what I mean? Just get really pissed off about it. But just being older now, I realize, like, man, there has to be different ways to approach people about this so that they'll actually listen to you. You know?
Yeah. I am part. Are you guys part of the Filipino food group on Facebook?
Might be.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm part of one of them. I don't know which one.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. There's this one. There's this one post, and they posted a video. It was I think a European tourist who went. I don't even. I want to say he was an.
The Itag one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
the
see
Itag
that
one.
one?
Yeah, I saw that one. That
Wow.
was.
I did my best. I love that. I don't. Have you guys had Itag?
Yeah, I mean, everybody puts it in there
Yes.
to flavor their pinik pican. So.
Yeah, I had no idea you could just like eat it on its own until like a couple years ago. But it was just good. Anyway, so on the Filipino food group, they put that video up, and it was meant to be like, and the caption was like, ew, disgusting. I would never eat this. And
Yeah.
sometimes I walk away. Most times I walk away. This time I didn't. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to have a strategy though. I can't just be like, don't shame, whatever, like this
Yeah.
delicacy. I was just like, it's actually really good. Like, have you had the chance to eat it? I don't, it's, of course, like typical, by the way, like European making a video of it and
Video.
showing
Yeah.
like worms coming out of it and like insects
Yeah.
and it looks
Yeah.
gross. And,
Mhm.
and
Protein.
but I was like, okay, my comments, like if I'm gonna do this, I can't be too attached to it. And I
Mhm.
have to, like, what do I want to get out of this? It's like, okay, like just let's not try to hate on food that's especially specific to like the culture and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's good. It's just good. You just don't do that. So like I did my thing where I commented on, each thing, like it's actually really good, like it tastes like this. And some of them changed the narrative, like, oh yeah, I've never had it before. How does it taste? Once you get called out, you
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Mhm.
try back a little bit. And some of them are like, hey, this is the person who posted it. Like, don't get on me about it. I'm like, I'm not getting on you. I'm just saying, like, it's actually really good. It can hurt people's feelings when you say stuff like this. Maybe not the right narrative you want to go with, especially in a Filipino, literally a group called Filipino group.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was really interesting to get into. Left it alone though. Eventually, it actually the whole post went away because it went against the laws of their Facebook group.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, which
Oh,
is
wow.
you have to be courteous and nice. And I mean, they were not.
Mm.
They were like, "This is
Yeah.
disgusting. How would you eat this? This is so gross. Ew, who
Yeah.
eats this?" And then I was like, "Please don't talk about the people who eat it, because then I don't know if I can control myself after that one."
Yeah, I know. I can imagine. I have seen that post. I don't remember if it was from that group,
Yeah,
but I've seen that post probably twice.
yeah,
Come up in different groups. Might have been one of the one that you were in.
mhm.
And the interesting thing was that the European dude was actually quite, although he was like, he was kind of scared to try it.
He
But
liked it.
at the end, he was like, yeah, it tastes like serrano ham almost,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much,
Mhm.
because
exactly
that's
what
what
he
it
said.
is.
It's
I
exactly
mean,
what he said. Yeah,
yeah. So he kind of he was okay with it. It was just when he saw like the maggots and all that stuff. But
yeah,
that's like,
You have to watch the full video. You know
yeah,
what I mean? You can't
yeah.
just take it as that's the thing, yeah.
And the funny thing is that, like, yeah, some people don't care about the maggots, and some people do. Like, so for example, this may be a quick plug. My brother-in-law's like family, they make their own brand, Musberry brand of you know of, of the itag, and they wrap it to prevent the flies from they wrap it with the mesh to prevent the flies from
is
like
this in
planting their
Gata?
huh
Is it?
insagata, yeah.
That's the one I had. I went to the Masbury store.
Yeah, it's quite good. So not everybody's just people. I think people who are doing at home, most likely they don't cover it, but people who know they're gonna sell it, they're gonna wrap it, man.
Yeah.
Come on, you know what I mean? Like, of
So
course,
it's dry aged.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
dry
Mhm.
aged, and it's just
Oh,
People
good.
dry age.
yeah. I mean,
Nobody
people,
gets crazy about that. But
yeah, people smoke fish, man. I mean,
Exactly.
it's,
Exactly.
it's just the way the whole video was kind of framed. That's just how
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
he
was
is,
the
man.
shock factor, and that's what the comments, like, I was like, yeah, guys, it's
Yeah.
just shock. But like, yeah, exactly. If you watch the whole thing, he actually enjoyed it,
Mhm.
and it's really
Yeah.
good. You try it.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a really good video. Well made.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well made, yeah.
But like, yeah, certain shots taking out of context,
Mhm.
especially the ones where he zooms into the maggots and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't pay attention, man.
This
You
is
don't pay
how it's
attention.
done every time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's different from place to place. Some people will do it open, some people will, if they have the covering, they'll cover it. It's just is what it
Mhm.
is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm down with eating the maggots, but
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either.
yeah.
I mean, over here, I mean, what do we do? Dry age the meat and I mean,
Yeah.
when you go to the big steakhouses, that's what they do
Mhm.
without the maggots.
exactly.
Yeah.
There was
21A.
mold and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's molds. Definitely just some type of spores that are on there when you're dry aging stuff. Can't be helped. It's just that it's as long as it's not the poisonous stuff, kind of mold.
Yeah.
Freaking cheese, right?
I
Mold.
was about to say, yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's I don't know. Media can sometimes sensationalize things, and before you even watch the video, like you already have this filter on, of
Mhm.
ooh or whatever. So,
But
but at
like
the
how you
same,
were saying, Amanda, that you had to strategically comment and
Yeah.
not just go in, because it's true. Like depending on, like even what we were talking about earlier, like the lady with the Kalinga thing. Like yes, we can get mad about her and stuff, but then if there's just a bunch of those coming in, like she's not gonna listen to any of that anyway. That doesn't open up like a discussion or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it has to be, yeah, you have to strategize and find a way to open up that communication so that they'll listen, and yeah, they'll be able to actually talk about it instead of being like, stop hating on me, blah blah.
Yeah, because I think I got blocked. I got flagged. It wasn't the first time that I
I
commented
wasn't
on
directing at
content.
you, but
Oh no,
um,
no, it's a good point to bring up because that like I was gonna say, Amanda, what Gerald was saying too is like that's the most the most like what's the word, adult thing to do. But yeah, no, because
Yeah.
it wasn't the first time I commented on that lady or whatever. But yeah, I ended up getting flagged, but I think that was just through the algorithms and whatnot. So
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
yeah.
But yeah,
but yeah, I think
agree
Jay,
with
Jay
Joe.
said it before. It's not worth the high blood.
Yeah, we've often talked about
Sometimes.
it. Not even, being part of these podcasts has kind of reminded me, even me myself, to kind of be more you like you said, strategic, or just be more thoughtful, mindful of how I'm
Mhm.
gonna educate somebody, if they need educating or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because man, I was surprised to even see a video like I said, Itag. Oh,
I
I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Because
It didn't even cross my mind. Like, well, like it was like, okay, like whatever, stock value, I see it.
Yeah.
It didn't cross my mind that it could elicit comments like that or like get passed
Yeah.
around and then the captions are off. It's like, oh, okay.
Some people were saying weird stuff. Like, I mean, kind of go, oh, those. I mean, I remember in some of the comments, people saying like, "Oh, those are Igorot people." You know what I mean? Those aren't Filipinos. That kind of thing. And it was like, oh, here we go again. Here we
And
go again.
that's
It's
the
like,
part that I was scared of. I was like, okay,
yeah,
we're just on the maggot part. So as soon as this turns, I'm like, I'm gonna have to like take a break from these comments and re-strategize. Like I'm gonna do.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there are more Igorot folks who are actually speaking out now. Like taking the
Yeah.
opportunity to speak out. I
Yeah.
mean, like the last biggest thing was that whole thing on which has been, this post itself has been going on around for like, I don't know, for years, but the one about the like the education books.
Oh
Yeah, that the one where they're talking about Igorot folks, and these are Filipino education books for young children, and it's like, man, dude, these are like very misinformative and just wrong. And I saw this years ago, but then it got brought up again either earlier this year,
Yeah.
yeah.
and finally, other Igorots were like, say, hey, what is this? And maybe, I don't know if it's the first time they've seen it, but now that they have more of a presence online, they spoke out about it, and your mom did too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah. That was an interesting position to be in because it's like, there's the whole who did this? How can I reach them? And I was like, oh, I can find that out for you. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to put all that together. So it's almost like combining forces. I mean, I
Mm.
remember like when my mom first heard about it, we talked about it, and then like everyone was talking about it, and I swear it was like 3 or 4 days later. I mean, there was a letter going out to Congress, and somebody like a mayor spoke out about it and everything. It just blew up.
Yeah, and I have to say that the diaspora did
Nice.
a lot
That's pretty
to
good.
speak up
Yeah.
about it. The diaspora.
Kieran, man,
Oh,
Kieran. Like,
Kieran, man, she took
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah, Kieran.
She contacted like everybody.
yeah, yeah. That was pretty
and
amazing.
it was the diaspora. Like I'm saying that again because like a lot of folks think that because we're second generation that we're not Igorot because we're not real Igorots or whatever like that. But like
Mhm.
here we are trying to create a discussion to try and like just open up more discussion amongst folks all over the world, Igorots all over the world,
True.
trying to talk about like either entrepreneurship or history and culture and all this stuff. And because we have certain privilege out here, like yeah, we're doing it. And I think it's I take pride in the fact that like it was the diaspora, particularly Kieran, who helped kicked and pushed
Yeah.
that through along with some of the other folks like your mom, and
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So
I just got an email, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Still
true.
working, eh?
We need to we need to review some of the comments that we've gotten on some of our videos
Oh,
because they're
we got some
kind of
cool.
funny.
We got comments. Wow.
No, I don't want to do it now, but because we're approaching 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry,
see the comment.
Amanda, that's how
But-
we do. So
That's
But as
what
we're
we
approaching 3 hours.
Yes, we do.
At some point, one of these episodes, we'll have a look at them because it's funny
Mhm.
because some of them are saying like, "Oh, we'd love you to visit Baguio or lots of Igorots here and whatnot." And
Really?
it's like,
Really?
okay, well, I've been there. We have a place there, yes. And he's just
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. I'm saying stuff like that, and then one of the most interesting videos is the one where we were talking about whether Asians or Filipinos are Asian or Pacific Islanders. And that one seemed to get a lot of hate, which is kind of interesting. But we'll talk about that one another time. It's really interesting. It's
Very
kind of, I
interesting.
mean, it's kind
did
of,
they hate the fact that I said yes and yes? Did they?
no, they
Come
hated the
on.
fact that I said, yeah, they hated the fact that I said yes because it's cool, stuff like that. But
Oh.
Wow.
again,
Alright.
that's a little out of context because that's what I
That's
was
so
saying
funny.
when I was like younger.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's good, I guess. It's good that it's eliciting some reaction from
Yeah.
people. I mean, like they should really be thinking that. Um, but no, I think your response was the most welcomed, Mark, because you went
My-
into a lot of it. So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting.
It is
Um,
interesting. Yeah, I mean that's what we're here to do is just try to create discussion as well. So if they
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
comment on all kinds of weird stuff, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they were saying like, oh, uh, there's a lot of self-hate here, like I guess hating our own Filipinos or hating what we are, stuff like that.
Either that or
Um,
maybe they were talking about us hating, like maybe like complaining about lowland Filipinos.
no, it was on the Pacific or Asian versus Pacific Islander one video.
Really?
Yeah.
Self-hate.
Really?
I know I wasn't
Self-hate.
really sure about that, but anyway. Well,
that-
because we're
that's
saying, oh,
interesting.
the Polynesian culture was cooler. So yes,
I love how their English
I
isn't
think-
that great.
I'll have to go look back in there.
I
yeah,
mean,
have a
you
look at
know,
them just because we will talk about them at some point. But yeah, just because it is coming up to 3 hours and I need to check on the family.
Oh,
um,
of course, of course.
I know.
I know
Yo,
there's a
I
lot.
just had dinner. You like that?
I think they're having dinner right now, but yeah, and
All right, man.
I'm
That's
sure.
how we do things. We
Yeah,
usually talk
exactly.
for
Dinner time?
3 or 4 hours.
Sorry, we
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
going.
yeah.
Oh, it's totally
And I'm-
fine. I saw the length of the other one, so.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot more we can talk to you about as well. But
Oh yeah,
for sure.
totally.
maybe if we can
Yeah.
get you back at another time. But
Yeah.
usually how we end these is I ask a quick question to the group, see what everybody thinks about it. So
All right.
I wrote down a few things, and I think I just keep it simple. I mean, what do you guys miss? One thing. What one thing do you guys miss pre-COVID? And who should start? Mark, you can start.
Okay. Mine would probably be the most obvious, but I do miss the gatherings. Playing the gangsa. I mean, I haven't played the gongs other than by myself, but like with other folks in like a year and a half, man. So it's like it's time. But luckily over here in the UK, things are gonna loosen up in July. and so we might be able to like actually have a function. So who knows?
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's us over here because it all has to do with the numbers going down because vaccinations have gone up. More and more people have gotten vaccinated.
Mhm.
So then, as long as the numbers go down in terms of like diagnosis, people going to hospital and deaths happening less, then who knows? Maybe we can have an, another Igorot function where we can just get together, dance, play, and just be merry.
Hey, and knowing that, I mean, I think we should also just keep in our prayers places like India and Brazil that are still really suffering
Oh yeah,
from,
yeah.
with all of these crazy strands of corona that's been brewing in their places and all the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Philippines too.
yeah, Philippines, yeah,
Yeah,
we've gotten
numbers have
some of
gone
that
up in
over there
certain
too.
areas. Yeah.
hmm Yeah. So knowing that, I mean, as we're coming out, I mean, there's a good part of the world that's still, oh man, they're still locked up with this. And we're just hoping that at least there's we just hold them in our prayers.
Mm,
I think.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Um, so for me, I think this is kind of more selfish, but just traveling outside of BC and Canada. But it kind of ties into like the stuff we want to do here. I mean, it'd be awesome if we could travel to attend things like Canao on the East Coast because I didn't realize it was so big. Like that's insane.
Mhm.
Dude, we
Um,
could do an episode there.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
Like it'd be
Yeah.
amazing. So
I love
yeah,
that.
just traveling for those purposes, or even I'm hoping to be able to still go to New Zealand, but
Mhm.
we'll
I
see.
know. Crossing fingers.
Mm-hmm.
New
Yeah.
Zealand IIC.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, Amanda?
I just miss being around my family. It's again like I live in a county that's just really hard, and
Mm,
it gets to your head with all the stuff that's being said about this virus, and I really miss seeing. I haven't seen Lonnie and their family in a long time, and
yeah.
sucks, man. Yeah, she's coming actually next week for work, so it'll be the first time I see her, and they're coming in June, so as a family, so that'll be nice. But yeah, I just miss being around my family, like in person, without a mask. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Ito?
Um, you basically took my answer, Gerald. Traveling. I think that's like the the biggest one, because like for me, I'm one of the few, I guess, that can say that the pandemic, in terms of like the lockdown and stuff, haven't really affected my day to day in a sense.
Mm,
Obviously, there's like social distancing measures that are really annoying, but I can get over it and whatnot. But yeah, the biggest thing that I can think of when it comes to just the past year of something that's literally missing is, yeah, traveling. Because like the whole past year, I've just been going to work, going home, and that's how it's been the year before. Except for like not having to travel. But even then, like when I came back from traveling and I got a job again and everything, I was just like, I'm kind of done with traveling. So 2 years later, I'm like, okay, maybe I kind of want to travel now.
yeah. I know,
And
right?
that helped because of the pandemic. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to IIC. I'm looking forward to New Zealand, and like much like most of y'all, like I'm pretty sure we all have the same feeling where it's like we're thinking of places to travel once everything opens up and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's a really good
So
point. Mm.
I mean, yeah, I was just talking to my mom about traveling because I didn't know this, but my mom's like she's got family in London that I didn't know
Mm.
about.
Hmm.
I only recently, or yeah, I only
Where?
learned when I came back. Somewhere in the UK, somewhere in London, I'm pretty sure. But she mentioned that she had family there, and I was
Okay.
like, well, why didn't I know this when I was there? It would have been nice,
Yeah, they're
right?
probably part of the Bengate group. Yeah.
Maybe
Most
I wouldn't be
likely. Yeah.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, but uh, she wanted to go to like Italy and stuff, and I was like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
do
Totally.
it. You're
It's
retired, might as well.
Yeah.
go everywhere. But yeah, traveling for sure.
You come to London. London, for some reason, instead of flying direct to that place, sometimes it's
Mhm.
cheaper to come to London and then fly out from London.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
That's how
well,
I
you
went
know
to
that. That's how
London.
you
Yeah.
came. So,
Yeah.
it's the
through
hub.
through by way of Iceland. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah, it's weird,
But
right?
yeah, I want to go back. I really want to go back.
Right
I
on,
want to
man.
hang out with I've been talking to what's his name?
Ed.
Ed. Actually, no, I haven't been talking to Ed. I've been talking to what's his face? Coming to
Al?
visit and whatnot. Yeah, Al's just been like, "Yo, come on, let's go,
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
work out." I'm like, "What?"
That's his thing. He's always about working out.
Yeah.
So, like,
But yeah, for
Okay.
sure, traveling, man.
yeah.
Even traveling different, like city to city. Like I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Just been at home, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Domestic flights are okay in the US, right? Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you
So
go to
may-
like Hawaii, then there's a little bit more extra restrictions.
Some of you guys are
Yeah.
going to Mexico.
Yeah, you
Ted-
could go to
Ted Cruz.
Cancun. You could go to all the the places where American tourist havens because they have their own bubble there, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. The tourist area is a bubble in general, right?
Right,
Mm.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's definitely possible to do all of those things. The ones that are discouraged is travel to Europe and
Yeah.
travel to Asia. But you could go to other parts, to certain parts of Asia. But that's not really encouraged yet. But people do.
So how about you, Jay?
Dating.
What?
That's
Oh,
yeah,
man.
now
Good
that
point.
there's stuff open, it's like, wow, we're gonna go date and go hiking. That only works for a certain population of people, right? That's what I would look forward to. Because I've been doing already those things with the kids. We've been going out doing stuff. They haven't been like the big excursions, but smaller excursions.
Mhm.
Family reunions. I see my parents. I would love it when we're actually more open to doing bigger family reunions. But I definitely have seen family members. It's just that just depends on what limits they might impose within their family context. But
Right.
we have seen them. Um, and then ultimately, yeah, it'd be great if we could hang out. Like your family can kind of come back down over here.
Yeah.
Those are all good. But I think yeah, for me, yeah, dating. That would be the biggest thing because it's
People
that's
don't
almost
know
been a
my brother is
no-go.
single now, so yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's what I look forward to. Like the museums are open now, and there's just stuff to do now. Like it was we met with our a group of parents for our confirmation class, and
Mhm.
we actually met at a cafe. Just to talk story, and because our kids have been having classes together, but no one's actually met in person till like now. So
Mhm.
it's actually pretty cool to have done that and knowing that there's a lot more reopening and
Yeah.
because of the vaccination. Definitely take advantage of that. Although it's still
Yeah.
odd to see people in person. It's a strange thing. Like we're
Yeah.
doing the right thing. Look, I'm still wearing my mask. Just
Yeah.
because it's way more convenient just to keep it on. And now I
Oh,
Mhm.
you know what I haven't done in a
probably
while? Hugged. I literally haven't hugged
Real
anyone.
hug, a
Yeah.
real freaking
real hug,
hug,
not
right?
not
I
an
mean,
elbow hug, right?
Even a bro
Yeah.
hug, right? The half kind of
yeah.
like that thing, you know? I mean,
You guys have your significant others and your families. I actually haven't hugged anybody.
no,
Aw.
we barely hug too. Not just kidding.
Ah.
Or even like a handshake, like a real
Oh yeah,
like a
Oh,
real
I-
corporate handshake.
No,
Just like
I force those. I force those. I don't get like I work
Yeah,
with people in the field and
handshake.
they'll be like, "Oh, my hands are dirty." I don't give care.
It's like
Shake your
even
hand.
just a Filipino limp wrist handshake.
The-
Filipinos, they just give you like this little like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that really the handshake?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's things like that. Just that actually seems unusual because like hugging is still kind of like a no-go over here. Like you don't see people
Yeah.
hugging.
Mhm.
Well, even
No,
here,
I
man,
haven't.
like in the church service, although yeah, we're allowed to have church services, we're not doing the peace.
Just
No
this kind of
shaking
peace,
hands.
right?
It's just like
You
this.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
none of that.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
Right.
Anyhow, Amanda, I
Our-
just want to say thanks for like coming out and sharing your family story and your story. I think again, it's really important. A lot of reasons we're doing this, and I mentioned this in our little pre-meeting, but just for the folks out there, the reason that we're doing this with people like Amanda is to kind of like give the opportunity for people to share their family histories, to create this channel. We want this channel to be kind of like a source of living history for Igorot folks who've migrated, who migrated out and can share their story. But at the same time, like for being an entrepreneur is an important, certain life, learning about other people's lifestyles, what lifestyle choices they've made in terms of like job or whatever, or creative exploration. I think that's important for our folks to know. And if you don't see it, you kind of don't know it, especially if you don't see someone from your own community doing it. So it's really great that you're able to share that, Amanda, because there's definitely a lot of ups and downs. But all in the big scheme of things, in terms of like what you've learned, and I mean, like what you've learned in your experience, you definitely. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what I'm gathering is like, I mean, you had the opportunity to do like share a space with business with your family,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
found joy in that, but you also were able to use the values that your parents gave you to help develop a great team.
Mhm.
And just the
Yeah.
experience of owning your own business with its ups and downs is like an invaluable life kind
Yeah.
of like experience, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I would never, as hard as it is right now, even I don't regret any of it. It's been a tremendous joy in my life for sure, and especially connecting with people. And you're right, man. Like it's having my family values, allowed me to create a team that felt like family, and then in turn, the whole community felt like my family, just another family. So yeah, I would. It all definitely links up together.
Yeah, right on.
For sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure,
I
man.
was very excited when you contacted me. I was hoping I'd be on one of these.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's so cool that this was happening. I was geeking out when I first saw you guys doing it. I was like, yes, this is one thing from the IIC that we had talked about. So super cool that
Exactly.
you guys actually did it. Yeah, it's awesome to see. So thank you. This was awesome. I love this so much. So thanks for giving me a platform. And
Come join us again, and you're always welcome to
sure.
be here as well if you want to. When we interview other people, So
Yeah.
you're always welcome on.
No, this was awesome. This to me feels like a gathering, of like
Yeah.
our people. So super cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, I can't say enough, but thank you for joining. I did want to do a quick shout out to a couple people that actually commented. So there's Torogi JTF saying good morning. I guess he or she is on the other side of the world. Thank you for joining in right at the end. But yeah, hopefully once this comes out, you can check out the full episode. And Don Juan from Virginia Beach. Interesting. And hi Amanda. Nice to see some girl power amongst these guys from Audrey.
Hey, Audrey. Okay.
Audrey.
That's your
All
cousin, right?
So there you go.
My
Right
cousin?
on. Yeah, isn't it?
You mean our cousin? Probably.
Well,
Oh,
what
their
we're
cousin,
talking.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Pee-wee's, that's
wife?
Pee-wee's. Is that Pee-wee's sister?
In Virginia Beach? I don't know about Virginia Beach.
Is that Pee-wee's
She's
sister?
in New Jersey. Pee-wee does have a sister named Audrey, but
You
she's
think
in
that's
New
her?
Jersey. In
No,
Virginia Beach?
it's
Oh, no,
my
she's
wife
one of-
Audrey.
Oh, sorry, man. Your wife.
Sorry, huh?
Sorry, I forgot your wife. His name is Audrey.
Don Juan was from Virginia Beach.
Don Juan was okay. Got it.
Don Juan, man.
Got it.
Man,
All right.
that's awesome.
Hold on, I'm
Um,
gonna take a group picture.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
While you're talking, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
So I'll just wrap it up. So yeah,
Bye.
for everybody that tuned in or is watching this later on a podcast or on YouTube, thank you again for supporting. And yeah, hopefully we can get some of these out in the near future and yeah, give you some entertainment and something to talk about. So until then, we'll see you next time.
Amen.
Awesome.